topic and, hopefully have a dialogue about the three topics that I have up on the board with someone. So, um, but yeah, like the live, share it, please, so that way it'll get on the For You page. I don't know why, but my lives have kind of been, not been hitting larger audiences. So if you guys could like and share, that would be fantastic. Maybe I need to make more content that's like relevant to this, but you know. But yeah, if you know anyone who would disagree with the following topic, feel free to invite them and send them a link to the live. Oh, thanks, Quacky. But yeah, like just trying to have a conversation. And again, if anyone disagrees, feel free to come in and explain why, so that way we can have a conversation about the topic. Hi, Tyler. Hopefully everyone's having a good Sunday. It's Sunday, right? Yeah, I think it is. Sunday night. And hopefully we can get a conversation started with someone who preferably disagrees. But I feel like, yeah, I feel like this, like, I feel like this topic drew a lot of people in yesterday when I did it. So hopefully it can get a conversation going. You disagree, Six? If you disagree, you can come up. I invited you. I don't know if like you do disagree or if you were like just laughing at like the way that I said it, but okay. Hey, what's your opinion, Kyle?
Hey, I think you're acting crazy right now.
Why?
I mean, you say these things are red flags, but I mean, it's just really just normal things to do.
Normal things to do. Which one is normal? All of them or specific ones or?
Yeah, especially like referring to women as females in context, males and females just makes more sense. I think, I just don't really trust your judgment. I don't think you should trust your own judgment either.
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but female is an adjective. It's not a noun. So like female, so like typically in the English language, when referring to a group of female women, or sorry, not female women, female humans, we typically refer to that as women. And then like same with, men, we refer to adult males as men. And yeah, it's just female is an adjective, and it's just kind of dehumanizing whenever men refer to mass groups of women as females. It's not grammatically correct, and it's also just dehumanizing because, like I said, it's an adjective, and the reason it's an adjective is because it can also describe other species of mammals, and women are more than their genitalia, so that's why
Okay,
it's
but I said given certain context, so like the Olympics were just on, if I say female athletes, then that would make sense because it's an adjective describing athletes.
Yeah, no, I'm not like. So the prompt says
Exactly, so
men
that's what I'm
will
saying.
refer to women as females. That's the red flag. Like whenever men refer to mass groups of women as females, it's just a red flag because I've also notice that the same men who do that will refer to men as men. They don't refer to men as males. It's just a double standard, and it's a way of dehumanizing women and referring to them as their genitalia. So that's why I have a issue with it. But which other one did you have an issue with?
Yeah, I just
Did
don't
you
think
have an
men have
issue
ever
with the
done
victim
that.
blaming situation? Like, I don't.
I mean, giving me an example of victim blaming.
Yeah, so victim blaming is simply just, so I'm talking in like context of like sexual crimes. So, for example, telling someone what they were wearing whenever the incident occurred, telling them that like whatever they were wearing had an impact on whether or not they were victimized. That would be an example of victim blaming, because you're taking responsibility from the perpetrator and you are placing it onto the victim and saying, well, because you wore this, he targeted you. So that would be an example of victim blaming. It's basically just taking responsibility off of the perpetrator and placing it onto the victim.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds bad.
Yeah, that's why it's a red flag.
Okay, I think that one's valid.
And then, like, the men who worry about false accusations being a red flag, the reason I have that up here is because whenever we're talking about sexual violence and, you know, we're talking about, like, the legitimate concerns of, like, the fact that 1 in 33 men and 1 in roughly 6 women experience rape within, like, in their lifetime. And then, you know, roughly every, like, 68 seconds, I believe, an American is SA'd. Like, whenever we're talking about those facts in like the culture surrounding sexual violence in America, and someone wants to shift the conversation to false allegations, it's a red flag, and it shows me that they don't like want to prioritize the issue, the bigger issue at hand, which would be sexual violence in our community. It just shows me that they aren't focused on this issue because they're genuinely concerned about it. They're focused on this issue as to like take away from like sexual violence and like the conversation.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, if you're only talking about it because you're trying to take away from the conversation of like sexual violence, then that makes sense. But I do feel like there are legitimate reasons to be worried about false accusations, as long as you're doing it in a way that doesn't, you know, mitigate other people's actual experiences.
Yeah, and also like I would just like to add on, typically like people who I've seen like worry about false accusations, like they don't typically come in with like the facts and the reasonings behind like why those happen. There are specific reasons as to why false accusations happen, and it's not just like revenge. There are more specific reasons, and like majority of
No,
false
that's what
accusations
you're
would
saying.
Yeah,
happen.
isn't that just
Yeah.
victim
So
When
blaming?
Joe,
when is
Aren't
a
you
false
hold on
victim
one
accusation
second.
blaming?
a
So
I
can
think
I
you're just
just like
victim
finish my
blaming the
sentence?
people who are
No.
victims of false accusations.
No, I'm not victim blaming. I'm literally explaining the 3 major reasons as to why someone falsely accuses another person. So the first one is during custody battles. There's a larger number of false accusations during custody battles. There's a larger number of false accusations whenever there's monetary gain to be had. And then there's a larger number of false accusations in situations where like the victim like had some sort of like monetary gain or gain of like children or custody or during divorce, something like that. So those are the 3 major reasons as to why those happen. But typically, like whenever I talk to men who want to come up and talk about false accusations, they come up without the facts. And I would just say, if you want to like have a discussion on like false accusations in America, I think like people need like you need to come up with the education to talk about it. You can't just come up like knowing nothing. So I would
So
just
you
say
don't
like,
care about anyone's opinion unless they're in one of those 3 circumstances?
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm giving an example of how I've seen people come up and spread misinformation about like false accusations and the statistics on those, and try to like weaponize certain circumstances which they've seen to push a narrative which isn't true. So, like, the only reason I'm mentioning this is because, like I said, I think if like men want to come up and have a conversation about false accusations, that's like sometimes my prompts are more false accusation based, and that's like fine. But I would say like have the knowledge and like the baseline statistics and facts so that way you can like be educated on talking on
I'm
it
up.
and not just like come up spouting bullshit.
Can I say
That's like
something real quick?
sure.
Question. You say men who worry about false accusations equals red flag. How so?
Yeah, the reason I think that they're a red flag is there's two specific reasons. The first one is because, like I said earlier, typically whenever I talk to men about this, they want to bring it up as to take away from like the conversation of sexual assault and violence in, you know, our
But
community.
that's not what this
And
is, though.
then,
This is false accusation. So,
yeah,
like,
but I'm explaining to you why it's a red flag. So give me just a second. And then also, men who worry about false accusations, the reason why they're a red flag, in my opinion, is because, like I said before, they don't have the statistics and the knowledge to be talking on false accusations, and they spread like common myths about false accusations, which only make the conversation harder to have, and it's not contributing to anything to like spout
I get what
bullshit.
you're saying, but like, why is statistics everything when it comes to this topic? I think this is a very simple topic. A false accusation to anybody's wrong. You know, men, woman,
Well,
it don't matter what.
it's a more nuanced discussion than that because there's more to be talked about, like when it comes to false accusations, like why they happen, the rate that they're happening, who they happen to, which demographics are more impacted by false allegations. So like it is a more nuanced conversation than just like they're bad. Like I agree that like lying
Well, I
about
mean, are
someone
you
is
saying that to
wrong.
like justify it anyway? Is that like where you're going with this?
Justify what? How is
False
what I said
accusations?
justified?
No, I'm asking. I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking.
No, I'm not going to justify false allegations.
Okay.
I'm also not going to. I'm also not going to over exaggerate the rate at which they happen and over exaggerate the harms that they cause to people who are falsely accused.
I got you. You just on here like basically being statistical with it. Okay, I was just curious. It seemed like from a far view. It seemed like you possibly were like justifying it in a way. So I was just curious.
No, yeah, I just like people can bring up their own anecdotal experiences. However, like whenever people do bring up their anecdotal experiences, and I've talked to a lot of men who have like claimed to like have known someone who's been falsely accused, but then when I ask them more about it, it's simply like they can't say one way or another. It's like, and this is just like from the anecdotes that I've heard, like 9 times out of 10 people will come up and say, oh, I had a friend who was falsely accused, and I'll ask, well, how did like you figure, like how did that come about, how did like you hear
I mean,
about
you
that, and they'll
good.
say
I
a
don't
friend of
really
a
know no one
friend,
like that,
or
so it's
like
cool though.
the perpetrator
Okay.
told me so, and it's like, well, hold on a second, I don't know if those like a friend of a friend or the alleged perpetrator are the best source of info. So
What is a victim? What is a victim?
a
Definition.
victim.
Can you tell me? Yeah, the definition of a victim.
I don't have like a textbook definition. I'm talking about victims of sexual violence when I like say victim. Does
Okay,
that make
so
sense?
you don't know what the definition of a victim is.
I
You
don't
should.
need
I mean,
a
if you
I don't
put
need
that
a
in your life,
text I don't
if
need
you
a
put that in your life, you should
wait,
be
what
ready for that question.
why do you need the textbook definition of victim for this
Because
conversation?
you got it in your background. I'm trying to see if you really know what a victim is.
Yeah, I'm talking about victims of sexual violence, people who have been victimized by a perpetrator who sexually violated them.
Right. Right. Okay. Do you think that women lie?
Sure, everyone lies.
Everyone does, right? Now, who determines who's telling the truth?
Typically, well, it depends. Like, if someone brings the allegations to law enforcement, then those people will, take over and there'll be an investigation. And
Right.
typically, that will take place. But what's your point?
Do you believe men who say they've been falsely accused and they're in prison because a woman lied? Do you believe that they exist?
Yeah, they're far and few between. Just like, men go to jail every day for being falsely convicted of murder. So
That's
yeah,
it.
like I get
That's
that.
it. That's it. Sexual assault. Yeah, that's it. You'd be surprised. I was incarcerated, and there was a lot of men in there who were falsely accused, and they were going home. I seen a lot of them be like, "Oh shit, the case got dropped." Now one thing. Here's my question for you, right? Do you think we should make laws against women who falsely accuse men, like they get locked up for doing that?
So there already are laws in place which would prevent that. I don't know if you're aware of this, but so like here's the thing: lying in general is not illegal. Like I could tell you right now that I've been to the moon. That's not illegal. I could tell you
No,
right
no, no. I'm not
now
talking
that
about that. I'm talking about
no.
falsely
I get what you're
accusing.
talking about. No, I get you. I get you. Let me just like explain. Let me just like don't like just listen for a second, right? I could lie about anything that I want to right now. I could say I've been to the moon or I like anything. That's not illegal, right? It's not illegal to do that. However, if that lie negatively impacts someone else, then that person would have a claim, like a civil claim. They could go to civil court, sue me, and say, well,
Yeah,
this
I
that
know about
lie
that.
impact.
But
Hold
my
on, I'm not done
question
talking.
was,
That hold on, just like you have to let me finish talking. I have a lot to say on that. So you asked me a very like, oh, you ran? So I'm going to continue saying what I was saying just because I want to like continue to say what I was saying. So if me saying that I went to the moon negatively impacted someone, let's say like that actively harmed someone else's reputation or whatever, then the victim in that, the person who I'm negatively impacting with my lie about me being to the moon, could sue me and take, action that way. However, if I like never lied to the police or I never lie under oath, then it's not going to be a criminal proceeding because I didn't lie under oath and I didn't lie to the police. It like lying only becomes a lying only becomes a criminal offense whenever you lie to the police through a police report or you lie under oath. So, like, there are already laws in place which prevent people from, or not prevent, but would punish people from making a false accusation to the police or under oath.
Yeah, it's called defamation.
Defamation isn't criminal. Defamation is a civil situation, which I already explained.
So what he was trying to explain to you though is if a man goes to prison, we'll say he's accused and convicted of, we'll say, a grape charge, right? Even though he did not commit the crime. And this has actually happened on several different accounts. He goes to prison, say he serves 8 years in prison, and he was innocent. And then later, she comes out publicly and says, okay, I actually lied about this. He didn't do this. This case has happened before. So he's asking, do you feel like in that situation, should there be laws in place? That man lost 8 years of his life. In fact, that man was an NFL prospect. He was going to be a first round pick. Do you feel like there should be laws? He lost
There
8
already are
years of his
laws.
life.
There already
Do
are
you,
laws, though,
should,
applesauce or Apple user. That's what I'm saying.
there's no laws that's going to put her in prison for 8 years.
So,
There are
Apple
none.
user. She would be if the prosecutor within like whatever area they're in the United States decided that that was a big enough deal, which they probably would if like this guy served 8 years. They probably would want to pursue her criminally. If the prosecutor decided that that was something that they wanted to pursue, they would charge her with either, making a false police statement, or they would charge her with perjury, which is lying under oath. But there doesn't need to be a separate law because that's already covered. And that would be any like perjury encompasses so many different things, not just like false, statements of like SA. It encompasses so much more than that. So yeah, like that's when lying becomes criminal, is whenever you lie under oath or lie to the police. So there doesn't need to be additional laws. There already are.
Okay, but perjury only carries a 5-year sentence. I just told you this man
Well,
had 8
yeah.
years.
So,
So a max
of
of perjury is 5 years. You do 30% time served at 5 years. You really only going to do maybe 2, probably about 1.5, and he did 8. You think that's fair?
do you think it's fair that the majority of rapists don't go to jail? Like,
That's not the topic. The topic is in the
well,
situation.
but do you think it's fair?
In the
Do you think that's
situation.
fair? Because I could ask you the same
But you're
thing.
trying to twist the narrative in an argument to fit your narrative. That's what you're trying to do.
No, I'm not. I'm just asking you the same thing, but reverse. Because I don't know if you know this, but it's more common for someone who commits sexual violence to never go, to never even go they're never even reported to the police. They're never even charged with what they did. That's a much more common scenario. So like, I don't know why you want me to advocate for laws which would make perjury a higher sentence when majority of people who are being victimized by these perpetrators are not even, getting justice.
So this is the problem with this conversation that you need to understand is that, and respectfully, that's not justice. So basically what you're saying is because so many people get away with it, if you're convicted in any form or fashion, even if you were innocent, then yeah, it's okay that you got the maximum penalty. And even if she said she lied, it's okay. That's perfectly fine. We should give her perjury so she can serve 1.5 years to his 8. His life is changed forever. But because people get away with it, we should slam the book at them. That's not justice.
So Apple user. So like perjury isn't the reason that perjury only carries a sentence of 5 years at max is because lying is not the same as some of these other crimes, right? Like lying is not equivalent to rape. That's why they wouldn't like, and also it's incredibly rare for a rapist to even get 8 years, let alone like let alone it being false and them getting 8 years. So I don't know, like if we're like in the world of hypotheticals right now, or if like there is a legitimate case you're referencing, but like that's not the norm. So I don't know if like you were referencing a specific case. If you were, like you could give the details, but like that's not the norm. The norm is that people get essayed and raped on a daily basis, and there's no repercussions for the person who did that to them. That's the norm. So, like, I'm just trying to put that into perspective for you guys, since you're not like seeing it.
No, these are every case I've told. The case that I specifically have told you is a real case that has happened, and I'm not trying to. There's not one. We're just trying to understand the operation of justice and the checks and balances. So there's not. You can't. That's the problem. So when you say lying is not equivalent to rape. However, lying put away an innocent man for 8 years. So you're going to say that 8 years. So what is the sentence that if a man sexually assaulted a woman that he should carry? Because this man did 8 years, and that's with time served. So I'm sure it was at a 30 or 40% time served rate. So he probably got more like 20 is what he probably got. So what in your mind, what is equivalent? So if it's not equivalent, he lost 8 years of his life. That's a pretty, I mean,
Well,
I think
yeah,
we
like,
could agree that that's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty huge deal.
The justice system is, and I agree, but I would also say, like, why aren't you also, like, I only hear people complain about false allegations when it comes to sexual violence. I never hear about it whenever it comes to unaliving. You realize that, like, you as a man, Apple user, and I'm assuming you're a man, you as a man are I believe it's 25 times more likely to be falsely convicted of murder than you ever are to be falsely convicted of rape.
Right.
Like, and I never hear people talking about that. I never hear people talking about the fact that, like, so many of, like, the people who are exonerated for, like, you know, or like their conviction is like overturned, or whatever you want to say, it's usually people who have been accused of murder. So, like, but I never hear people advocating against that. That's the issue. And that's like the problem that I have when we talk about these things. It's not sexual violence that's causing men to lose like years of their life. It's not. It's false, you know, convictions of murder.
Hey Matt, could I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, how are you? I agree with with everything you're saying. I think people are missing the point that right, it does occur, but it's so improbable that it is weird if someone's just like out of the blue super worried about it, right? Because like you said, like more. I don't know the actual numbers, but that absolutely makes sense. What you had said, there are more cases of where it does happen, the guys go unpunished versus false accusations. So to be paranoid about something that's extremely unlikely to happen, to be paranoid about that occurring is I could see how that would be a red flag. I just want to say on the red flag thing, but I think if the person's actually genuinely worried about it, and I guess it would take a little more context to know that person, then maybe that wouldn't be a flag. As opposed to them trying to use that, like you said earlier, to try to divert attention away from the actual issue, right? Because I could see a lot of people trying to do that, to be like, well, this could happen, and they're just trying to, you know what I mean, avoid what your topic is, right? And exactly that part, that how much of the essay goes unpunished. I'm a unicorn in that, as far as I always factor that in when I meet people, but for different reasons, because I'm 37. When I was from 18 to about 30 years old, I was living crazy. I have I've done a lot of time. I've done about 8 years, but for nothing for weird stuff. No essay, or it was all a business crime, I guess you could say. So like narcotics trafficking, weapons trafficking, that whole thing, armed robbery. So it was just crime, right? But because of that, I have strikes. So it would be easy for anybody, actually, not even just a woman. If anybody at this point wanted to make my day rough, they could just make something up, call, and I'd have every single alphabet boy at my place, you know what I mean, just giving me hell until I clear everything up. But that's because of my previous, you know, my record, right? I have strikes. So in that situation, I guess, but there aren't many people, like I don't really meet many people that have extensive records. So I can't really imagine why somebody would just be paranoid of that happening, because it's not something that frequently occurs. But I think everyone's in agreement that if it did, obviously, whoever it is, if somebody lies about something, it's not cool, no matter who, right, guy or girl. It's just not, it's something that's frowned upon in general. So I think that's already understood, no?
Yeah, like it is frowned upon. Like, obviously, people who lie about any crime are like, I would say, are bad people, and you know, have something like wrong with them for sure. So like, I don't think that anyone, it's more so about like the over exaggeration of how frequently it happens and how severe the consequences are for the people who, like, you know, go through false allegations. It's typically like, consequences typically aren't severe.
And the victim blaming is insane to me. That I still can't even fathom that I hear other people saying, like, seriously, with a straight face, being like, well, she should have done that, she shouldn't have wore that. Like, that's completely insane. Like, how does that justify doing anything? Sure, everyone is responsible for their own safety, generally speaking, right? You should always try to protect yourself no matter what. That still doesn't make it, you know what I mean? It's never okay. It's crazy to me, and the people with the straight face can actually try to even, like, that you'd even, have you had people up here that you've had to debate that with that are actually trying to push that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, I've talked
That's
to
crazy.
so many
That's
people
insane.
who like they'll be like, oh, I don't victim blame. Like I get that, like, but, and then they'll be like, don't put yourself in that scenario. And it's like, well, you literally just negated everything that you just said by saying the but and then victim blaming, because like you're like putting yourself in what type of scenario? Like going out to a bar and indulging in activities which we are legally allowed to indulge in? Like, what do you mean? So it's just very problematic.
Absolutely, like that. Yeah, that's crazy. That's actually insane. The people who try to argue that.
Yeah, people are crazy. Tony Frog, did you have an opinion?
So we'll start at the top. Worrying about false accusations. If it comes to whether or not I stole something, absolutely, I'm not gonna worry about that. I wouldn't worry about that accusation. That's fine. There's going to be circumstantial evidence to prove you innocent. You're going to be able to get out of it if you did not do it. Okay. Now, what I would worry about is if somebody came up and said, this individual touched my young daughter, because you need absolutely no proof to go to prison for the rest of your life. There can be no DNA, and it's all based on testimony. And we're saying it could be based upon a testimony of a minor. So would I be worried about that accusation? Absolutely. But as far as the other way, no, I don't worry about it because,
Wait, so can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Yeah, so you believe that you don't need any sort of like legitimacy behind either, like you don't need any sort of credibility, you don't need any sort of like legitimacy behind your accusation, you don't need any sort of proof, and it's super easy to just like convict someone with like a sex crime?
It absolutely is. Yes, there has been many thousands.
Because that's not majority of people's experience.
What about
like,
Woody
what
Allen and Michael
state are
Jackson?
you living in? Because I'd like to go there and like, see how that legal system works, because that's not like where I'm at.
So when it comes to sexual advances or sexual assault on a minor child, the minor child can have this happen and then a large amount of time go by, years, months, days, undetermined, and then them come to say, Mommy, Daddy, so-and-so touched me inappropriately. You're back. You've got there's no DNA. There's nothing on file. There's no photos. There's no witnesses or anything. Much like the case of the case for the gymnast coach that was the fitness the trainer,
Larry Nassar.
Very Nassar.
Nassar had a lot of people. That was a lot of evidence. Okay, but just a one-off scenario, yes, it has happened more times.
Are you speaking from personal experience?
I am not.
So
No,
who are you speaking on behalf of?
I had a family member that was accused of it, and we were all worried, and we all in confidentiality. So
Who were they worried? Who were they worried about? Who accused them? Another family member, a neighbor?
Well, see, it was my brother, and he was 18 years old, and his girlfriend was 16, and in the state that the consenting age was not 16. It was consensual between those two.
So hang on, stop. Sorry, your brother raped a woman because he had sex with someone under the age. Right.
Well, I guess you'd call it grape. It was
Statutory grape is grape.
Yeah.
So what's the false allegation there? It sounds like your brother was a rapist. I'm confused.
Well, I mean, if the 16-year-old laid down with the 18-year-old, my brother had just turned 18 years old. They've been seeing each other when they were both minors, and we're going to get married and stay together. She just didn't turn 17 in time, and her parents said that she fought against it.
I'll ask again, what's the false allegation? It seems as though your brother did commit rape. What's the false allegation?
Well, I guess you're correct. It wasn't.
So why are you calling it a false allegation when your brother is a rapist? I don't understand that. That seems weird.
Yeah, I'm going to ask that we don't say that, because that was
I apologize. I apologize that your brother is a statutory rapist. Does that make you feel better? Or I can refer to him as a rapist of children, if that would be better.
Irish, you do know there's a law called Romeo and Juliet that states
Yeah, I also know that it obviously isn't applicable in his state. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to jail, right, Giovanni? So, like, the only reason I'm coming hard is because of the fact that you came up here and you started to say this was a false allegation. So, if you're going to say it's a false allegation, if you're going to go to that extreme, I don't feel bad about calling your brother a rapist.
Well, his family, her family had made the accusations and told the court that
The
it was
true
not,
accusation.
told the court that it was not consensual.
No,
They
no, no, no.
were-
You said it was because of the fact that in that state, 16 is not the legal age of consent. You said that already. Don't backtrack.
I'm not backtracking. I'm stating
Okay,
facts.
so he went to jail for statutory grape, correct?
Yes.
You understand statutory grape doesn't care whether it's consensual or not, correct?
Yeah, I do.
So there's no accusation. You understand that's one of the rare black and white crimes where intent and motive and knowledge doesn't matter. So there was no false allegation, there was no false conviction, there was nothing incorrect. Now you can argue your brother messed up, but it doesn't sound like he did mess up. It sounds like he knew she was 16. It just sounds like he just didn't care because he thought no big deal, and that's, his prerogative. But then he can't claim false conviction or false allegation when he gets arrested for that.
Does non-consent affect sentencing though?
It could.
That would be the false accusation.
Depends.
I mean, like, I guess just
How many
like,
years did he get?
He got out. They dismissed it. But he
They
went to jail
dismissed
for
it.
6 months. Yeah.
Hang on, I thought you said you know about all these states that just simply a mere allegation can destroy a man's life and send them to jail. But I want to be clear, your brother was a rapist and he didn't even do any time. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, because they overturned.
Sounds like the system's really set up to protect rapists, doesn't it?
Almost like you could be accused of a crime and then go to court.
Well, you know what? You can if you fight and there's no evidence, then when she was
There was
able
no
to
evidence that she was 16 and he was 18. There's no evidence of age. Are you kidding me?
You do know that's not the only thing they look at, right? Like,
Giovanni, you do know that nobody's talking to you right now, little
do
bitch,
know that.
right? So just be quiet. Thank you. So,
Also,
Tony,
we're
I'm just
talking about
curious.
statutory. Like, I don't know why the men don't get it. It doesn't matter. Like, none of the factors matter. Maybe like sentencing wise, but like, doesn't matter. Like,
But he wasn't even convicted. So,
yeah, literally, like that's an auto conviction right there. So like, just don't have sex with minors. It's really not that hard. Or like,
He was a minor
if you're
when
gonna
they were
like,
together.
he was 18.
No,
if you're gonna like,
they were together when he was 16 and she was 14.
When they had sex the last time, he was 18, correct?
That is correct.
just don't engage in sexual activities with someone who like can't consent in your state. Like, it's not hard.
I'm not understanding. Are you looking? You came up here and you said all a child has to do is accuse the man, even if it's false, and that man will go to jail no matter what, right? But in the case of your brother, a child accused your brother. You know it was a true allegation, and he didn't even get convicted.
The child did not accuse him. The parents did.
Okay, did the state accuse him?
No.
Was he charged?
Yes.
Okay, the state did accuse him then. That's what the charge means, right? The charge means you are being charged with this crime. And it was a proper charge, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand. How is it you can have a brother who literally got away with this, but you're up here saying, oh no, poor men are being persecuted? Like,
I
that's
didn't even
wild.
say that, dude. Why are you trying to do that? I
You
just
came
thought
in
it
here and
was
you
was.
said that a little girl can simply make the accusation and a poor man's life will be destroyed. You did that, and then you came up with an example where the exact opposite happened. Do you understand the irony of that?
Okay, well, let me tell you something. We'll dismiss that whole part of it, and let's just say tomorrow. Dismiss hypothetically-
reality. Let's just come up with a fake scenario that fits your narrative. Go ahead.
Well, you're a fucking prick, man.
Well, at least I'm not the brother of a racist. A rapist.
Tony, were they dating in high school
You're
before the
goddamn right they
accusation?
were.
Okay, so then that falls under the Romeo and Juliet. Okay?
Giovanni,
You know
you
that
dumb
fucking
bitch.
prick
I already
out.
told you,
How
Romeo
about
and
you
Juliet
actually
is
speak
not in
laws
all
instead of
states. Romeo and Juliet
Realize-
does not apply to all states.
Yeah, like
Every
some states
state
don't
is a
have
different.
that.
Yeah, every
you
state,
even
and
ask the
clearly,
specification of
clearly, if he was charged, Giovanni, they clearly do not have a Romeo and Juliet law because they would not have brought the charge knowing the ages of the people involved. So could you please perhaps
Charged
stop
with a-
bringing up these exceptions that allow adults to have sex with minors because it's a little fucking weird.
Yeah, we can move
with a
along, like,
crime
cause
and
I, like,
acquitted.
we can move along. So, and also, like, the thing is, like, if you guys really want to go, like, tit for tat, I could bring up so many more
Yeah, I would.
scenarios where someone legitimately, like, raped someone, and, like, there's hardcore evidence to support that. And, like, essentially nothing was done. Essentially no time was served. So, like, you guys really want to go there, like, I could give you, like, at least 5 different names of rapists who, you know, did, like, little to no time. So anyways, moving on, Tony Frog, what do you think about point number 2?
I'm trying to gather my snap right now. Refer to women as females. I don't really understand that. Is a woman not a female?
Yeah, so, like, women are female. Yeah, we're female, but we're not females. Like, that female is an adjective.
All right, so men who refer to women as females. What is the question? I don't understand.
Yeah,
What
so,
am I
like,
supposed to?
So there's for some reason, like, younger men, I would say, like, between ages of, like, 16 to, I don't know, like, let's go, like, 28. I would say that there's this weird phenomenon of people in those age ranges referring to women or, like, you know, girls in general as females. And it's just dehumanizing. It's degrading us down to our genitalia. Because female is a descriptive word. It's not simply just a noun. It's an adjective. So it's just dehumanizing. And especially, like, I've asked, like, these men to, like, just call us women, and they, like, refuse to do it. And it's just weird. Like, just call us women, call us girls, call us teenage girls, call us teenage, you know, young women, adolescent, whatever. Like, do
All right.
that.
I got you. So here's what's going to happen when, EMS shows up at a sorority house, and they're going to say, I was speaking to these females. I'm speaking to these males. They're not going to say I was speaking to these women, and I am speaking to these men. So in that construct, they're not going to call
That's
you.
not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not talking about, like, you realize whenever EMS or, like, I guess a nurse or a doctor is referring to a patient as, we have, you know, like, one female, like, shot, for example, like, we have one female shot, one male shot, whatever. They're doing that because your sex has a determining factor in, like, the care that you're going to be given. So, like, it's also used as, like, identification purposes for whenever those people come into the hospital or are getting treatment. So that's completely different from everyday men coming into, like, you know, lives, coming into, you know, just, like, in their everyday to-day lives, calling women females. That's completely different. So, anyways, and what do you think about the victim blame bullet?
So explain to me, men who victim blame, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, men who victim blame are a red flag. Yeah, so they're just red flags. They're gross people.
I'm really not understanding. Like, so somebody's a victim and you blame them for being a victim? I'm not
Yeah, that's
understanding.
exactly what it is. Yep.
Oh, so like they deserved it or something?
Yeah,
Do you think if a
exactly.
woman goes to a bar and gets a little bit too tipsy and then ends up getting raped, do you think she's to blame because she got tipsy and she was wearing low-cut clothing?
Absolutely not.
Okay, people who do, that's called victim blaming.
Yeah.
Now, I
So
think that if you walk into a bar as a woman, to be respectful to the host and not a female, you walk into the bar as a woman and walk up to the biggest bear in there and smack him in his face, and he turns around and knocks your teeth out, and somebody goes, "That's what you get." Now, that victim blaming? Is that would be
I
the same
mean,
thing? Is that what we're talking about?
if you initiated violence, that wouldn't be like, no, that wouldn't be
Yeah.
victim blaming. No one's saying if
Okay.
someone initiates like some sort of violence, then like,
I'm
like
just going
no,
by
like,
what Iris said. So Iris said that somebody was acting in a provocative way, wearing nice clothing, just doing
How is
something.
that similar to a woman punching a man in the face? I don't understand how that's the same
Well,
thing.
no, because they both are victims at the end. One was a victim of violence, one was a victim of sexual advance or sexual assault. So I'm asking in that context, since both of them are victims, would you blame her for getting?
No, because the woman who punched first is not a victim, right? She punched first. Like if
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
in a bar fight and I
Depends on
punch
that,
you
though.
first, am I the victim simply because I lose the fight?
No, you're
No.
not.
So what do you? So it's not the same situation at all.
I'm just gonna let Tony Frog, like, I'm gonna let him go because we've got other people who have probably more interesting takes. Yeah, so Jeffrey, like, you felt, or Giovanni, like, did any one of you want to, like, chime in?
I don't worry that much about false accusations. But I have been falsely accused twice in my life.
Of
One
what
of them
specifically?
was by my 5-year-old brother, and that was scary because I didn't feel like if a 5-year-old says you did something, I wouldn't even know where he heard the words to say to
How
describe
old were
it.
you?
I was probably 20.
What did your 5-year-old brother say you did?
Well, this is where it starts. He was in my room wanting to like hang out or something. I told him to get out of my room. I didn't feel like hanging out, and he said, "I'll tell mom you touch me," as a threat. And then I told him I was busy and I really didn't want to hang out or whatever. I didn't think anything of it, but it made me feel a little uncomfortable. So later I told my mom while we were driving somewhere, and she pulled over the car, and it was a way bigger deal than I thought. He had already told them, and they were planning on sitting down with me and asking me about it. It never felt like that was ever resolved right, because they also talked to him one-on-one and said stuff like, well, if you say this, your brother's going to go to jail. You don't want him to go to jail, do you? And that didn't feel good, because I feel like let's say in a world where somebody really did that and that's how you got the kid to say, okay, it's not true, that doesn't really feel right. You just scared the kid into taking it back, whether it's true or not. So that none of that felt right. I mean, none of it luckily added up. I was visiting from college. There was no real timeline that would support anything like that. But it felt a lot more serious. And definitely like if one thing was missing, or I didn't have some sort of alibi, or we couldn't figure out how he learned to even say that, I wouldn't know what to say. They're 5. Like that, I wouldn't have no idea how
What
to
was the
navigate
other
that.
allegation?
That one, I dated someone for 5 months in college, and we were intimate regularly, probably hundreds of times. When the relationship ended, they spread a rumor that we only did anything like that once, and it was because I date raped her. I found that out because one of my friends told me and was pretty sure that wouldn't be something that I would do. The only night if that was based in any situation ever, it would have been the only time I remember that we had a lot of drinks. But what actually happened that night was we were outside laying in the grass. I was laying on my back with no expectation that anything like that was going to happen. They climbed on top of me, took my clothes off, and said, "Welcome to college." And I didn't really, I don't know, I wasn't doing anything in that direction at all. But then, maybe like 10 minutes later, we were going to walk back to the car, and they passed out, just like face planted. And that's how I learned that.
Why did you think it was that one time?
Because she said it was date rape, and that's the only time that we had that an amount of alcohol. Where I think maybe what happened, I don't even know this for sure.
I mean, date rape doesn't have to include alcohol.
Right, but if I'm scanning every single thing that ever happened, that was the only thing where she may not have remembered if she had that much to drink. I don't know how many drinks they can drink and feel, like they're going to remember everything that happened later.
And who did you hear this from?
What's that?
Who did you hear this from? That she'd claimed you only had sex one time?
From a mutual friend.
I'm just a little confused because you obviously were dating her for months and months if you'd had sex hundreds of times, right?
Yes.
Was it a secret relationship?
Nope.
Honestly, I'm not really following the story. Like, I don't really understand why would someone believe you guys only had sex one time if you're together for months and months and months?
Because it was at a Christian. That's another thing. The only thing I can think of is she didn't want to seem like a floozy because we went to like a Christian college or something.
Okay, so you heard it from one mutual friend?
Yes, but I also confirmed it with other people, and I definitely noticed.
What other people?
I mean, what do you mean by that question? You don't know any of them?
Sure. How many other people did you say, I spoke to your ex, and your ex specifically told me this? How many people told you that?
Like 3.
Okay. I don't really know. It's just a weird.
What were the
both your
consequences
allegations
of
are just
that?
weird allegations. And Miss
Jeffrey, what was the-
Rodriguez, you've been invited up multiple times. Why would you report the live, Miss Rodriguez? So that's just weird. You're quote unquote a happily married woman
Nah, I'm
to
just
an army
blocking her.
vet.
You can just ignore
You're
her.
just
I'm blocking
annoying.
her.
Fucking weirdo.
Yeah, if you report my live, I'm just gonna block you, like point blank period. So Jeffrey, were there any consequences?
Yeah.
What were the consequences?
That's what I kind of think. I don't think a false accusation is something you take to court. I think it's something why, if you know that you're not telling the truth, you probably don't want to go to court. You probably just want to damage someone's reputation, right?
Well, what were the consequences of your false accusation?
I left college. For a long time, I had no idea why my friends didn't seem like my friends anymore.
You left college as a result of the accusation?
Yeah.
Why?
Does it matter?
Hold on, say that again?
Did the college
Yes,
kick
it
you
does
out?
matter. Why did you leave college?
Like, did the college kick you out or what?
No, because when everybody in your social circle, you notice this huge shift, and you feel like they all think this about you, that's a different environment.
I
What
mean,
was different? What was so bad that made you leave? Because they all
I don't know, I
trusted
guess
you,
they would
right?
have-
So they
you
all
have
came
to-
to you and they told you what happened, so they trusted you and believed you, right?
Right. I just told you, you don't have to accept it, but if it happened to you, you'd get it.
I
What?
mean,
No, I
No.
didn't hear you tell me.
I mean, in my case, unless the college kicked me out, I wouldn't consider a few people thinking that I did it, ruining my own life. I just continue my business while in college.
Well, I mean,
Jeffrey, that like, like there's lots of reasons why people take time off of college. And like if you were falsely accused, I just don't understand why you would take time off of college. Like, I don't get that. Like, it's not like a false accusation is having psychological, like, false allegations typically don't have adverse psychological impacts on the person, especially if there's no
what's the
sort
next
of
topic? Victim blaming?
no.
Is that
So
what's
like I'm
happening
just
right now?
letting you know that like
Is
that
this
doesn't
is this
really.
the
Jeffrey,
is
are
this
you a
the
victim
blame
of
function?
sexual assault?
What's that?
Are you a victim of sexual assault in this scenario?
Is victim blaming only about sexual assault?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
typically victim
Yes, it
blaming.
is.
Typically, victim blaming only applies to sexual assault.
What about
Like,
physical assault?
Yeah, I don't care. You can
typically, I
whine
don't-
all you want. I'm
I
asking
don't-
again, why did you leave the
I'm not
college?
whining.
Why did you leave the college, Jeffrey? Just give a direct answer. You said your friends believed you. That's why they trusted you with that information, right? There was no college investigation and you weren't
That's
arrested.
not accurate. One person said that. The other people just didn't confirm it, right? They just said, this is what's happening.
Okay, and?
And if you had a social network
Why don't
that
you explain it
supports
to
your-
us?
What? Why don't you stop
Explain it to us.
interrupting me?
Explain to us what it's like to have a social network where
Are you going to say,
people,
please explain it
where
while
an
I'm explaining
allegation
it?
comes out.
Are you going to keep doing that?
So hold on, Jeffrey. That was the only sole reason as to why you left college.
I don't think that matters. I think if it was a contributing factor that's still where I would have stayed, let's say there's 10 reasons, and
But
if
that
all
wasn't
of
the
them are in
only
place,
factor.
then that's the outcome. It's
That wasn't
still
the only.
Bro, I'm gonna be real
But
with you.
that wasn't the only factor.
That is the most
Like,
meanest. Sorry, my bad.
yeah, sorry, no, you're good. I was just gonna say, but that wasn't the only factor, Jeffrey. So like, why are you saying that like you left college as a result if that wasn't the only factor? Like, I could tell you factors as
Why
to
would
like
why would I say my
like
why-
there
why-
were a multitude of factors
if 5
as to
things
why.
broke on my car and then the car didn't go forward anymore, it would be because of those 5 factors. It's still a factor.
Yeah, but like it's disingenuous to say that you left college as a
It's not
result of like
disingenuous 'cause I'm
the
not
false
hiding it.
accusation whenever there were multiple factors. Like
Okay,
I've
well,
taken
I'm
breaks
not
from
lying about
I've
it.
taken breaks from
So it's-
college and I
it's
haven't
not-
like can you let me like continue talking? I've
Sure,
taken
everybody
breaks
interrupt me.
from college and I haven't like blamed it on one specific factor. Like there were a multitude of like reasons as to why I've taken like semesters off. And like I wouldn't say, oh, this one factor is what led to this.
You could say you wouldn't say what the primary factor was or the thing that affected you the most. Am I
No,
allowed-
because
am I-
like
this is a better
whenever like
question. Am I allowed to
whenever
have
I
something affect me the most?
whenever I took a semester off college, it's because like there were so many different factors that equally contributed as to like why I did that. So I wouldn't just blame it off of one. Whenever
Okay,
people
so
like whenever I explain my
you have every
whenever I
right
explain
to-
my college timeline, which I've done a lot
Jeffrey,
because
stop
I just
interrupting.
recently started school back up, I typically say there were a multitude of factors as to like why I took this semester off. So
Okay,
like
it's your life. You can have it. You can.
I'm just
process
confused
whatever
as
you
like
want.
it was kind of disingenuous for you to say I left college because of this false accusation when you just said that there were like other
But I would have
factors.
stayed if it didn't happen.
Okay, so wait, what exactly about the false allegation ruined your college life? That's what we're trying to understand. You're
I
not
have already
answering.
answered that question.
Okay, can you re-answer it? Because I'm not really tracking.
Because when
You're-
when all of your friends and your entire support structure is all of a sudden gone, and for
Okay.
a while you don't even know why, and people are
Okay,
looking
so
at
then
you
all your
like,
friends believed
I'm-
her. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
I stopped interrupting you.
Jeffrey, I just want to confirm. What you're saying then is all your friends believed her, correct?
I
You just
think
said
that
when
whether-
all your friends start to believe. So I want to make sure. Are you telling me all your friends believed her? Is that what you're telling me? Yes or no?
I'm telling you, I noticed that I had friends, and then
Mm-hmm.
everyone was distant after that happened.
And from that, you inferred that all your friends believed the woman, correct?
I didn't ask who believes them or not. I didn't go around and ask 30 people, do you believe this thing or not?
Okay,
I don't
let's
think
forget
anyone
about
would.
30 people. Let's just focus on the ones that really were close to you, right?
What is this
Did
about for
you,
you right now?
Jeffrey? Why are you getting so defensive when I'm asking you
I'm not
very simple
defensive. I'm
questions?
asking, what is this about for you? What are you trying to
Sure,
determine?
I'm a co-host on this live, and what I often do is whenever men claim they are falsely accused, normally I grill them and I'm able to reveal that they're fucking lying, okay? And I wasn't doing that to you because honestly your two stories just seemed really fucking weird and I was going to let it go. But given the fact that me just asking very basic, simple questions about why it is you left college is leading to you being a defensive little bitch, it's leading me to believe that you weren't falsely accused, or you
What's
just
it
fabricated
again?
that story and you're not smart enough to lie at a quick enough, speedy pace in order to be able to answer my questions. Because right now, going through your head, you're asking yourself, is it better for me to say that all my friends abandoned me, or is that going to make me look more like a rapist? And because
No,
you don't know how to answer that
that's not what
question,
happened.
that's why you're not answering
That's
my
not what I
question
did.
as to whether or not all your friends
I
believed
answered
her or
honestly.
you. So
I
this is me
answered with
revealing
the
that you're a
truth.
lying piece of shit. Is that clear on who I am now, Jeffrey?
Nope. I answered with exactly what the truth is.
So, Jeffrey, I'll ask again. Did you infer that all of your friends believed her?
And I gave you my answer. I did not ask every individual person.
I didn't
who they
ask you if you
believed.
asked. Why did it feel like did it feel like all your friends were treating you as if they believed her?
Yes.
Okay, so now my next question is, why do you think all of your close friends believed her over you?
Because it's. Do you? Because we believe. That,
Can you answer the question?
because they. Why would they believe me? And
Most men
discredit
ordinarily believe their
someone's.
friend.
They were both of. It was a social net. We had the same friends.
Uh-huh.
You could.
Why did your... Sorry, go ahead, Black Hammer.
So you thought that no one would be on your side if you tried to explain yourself?
My feeling is that if it was anything, and someone started a rumor, I don't have the energy to go around and check in and,
But you have the energy
ask
to
if
leave
they
college.
believe me.
Not even the energy to talk to your most closest friends, but you had the energy to leave college.
Yes, I talked to my closest friends, the ones
they
that
didn't
came to
believe
me
you.
and said they believe me.
Oh, so wait, did your friends believe you or not believe you? Which
I
is it,
don't get
Jeffrey?
it. I don't get it. It seems like you had some people on your side. How was that enough to make you leave?
There was one
Jeffrey,
person.
did your friends believe you or did they not? Because this is getting a little irritating that you can't give a clear answer.
I gave the clear answer. I don't know which friends because I didn't ask all the friends. That's the answer.
How many friends
Okay,
believed you in total?
I'm just like tired of it. I'm sorry. I can't like if you're gonna come up and share a false allegation story, then just like be better at responding. Like give the facts and be concise because I don't like whenever I have to like derail my live for 20 minutes to ask about facts. It pisses me off. So continuing along, who wants to go next?
I would like to go next.
Sure thing, EJ. So EJ, what's your take?
What the hell?
Sorry, my niece was banging on my door. Okay, so I feel like the first one shouldn't be a red flag, especially coming from someone that has been somebody that's been falsely accused of something. Number two, I can't really speak on that. I don't really refer to the women as females, so I don't call them women, so I really don't know. And victim blaming is a red flag. You shouldn't blame the victim for what happened to them. That's dead wrong. I can tell you the two instances of the false allegations I had if you would like to hear those.
I mean, it's up to you if you want to like disclose those because like Irish is,
I mean, look, I have
very like he's got a professional background in being able to question people and like find out facts. So it's just up to you.
I mean, even if he does question me, I have text message proof and screenshots and everything of all of the situations. So if
Is
you
the
want me to-
profile picture is your profile picture you?
Yes, I'm a black man. False allegations with me, I can't. If I get a false allegation of anything, any crime in general, especially in the
No, I
area
get
that
that.
I live in.
Yeah, that's
It's
why I
not
asked
gonna
if that
go
was you.
well over for me. So when I seen the men that worry about false allegations, it kind of that kind of like irks me a little bit. But I
EJ, what we'll
understand
say
why.
is that if you're a black fella and you worry about false allegations, it's very different than if you're a white fella. If you're a black fella and you're accused of being a rapist, the chance of you shaking that false allegation is a lot fucking slimmer than someone who's a white dude, right? And so
Yes.
ordinarily, and that's why we don't specifically put up white dudes up there, just to be able to like make that point clear. And there's a reason why whenever white dudes come up here and say, "Oh, men are falsely accused and their lives are destroyed all the time," they almost always, their examples are almost always black men. And
Yes.
so we're keenly aware that black men are more likely. So when they look at false convictions, meaning men who have gone to jail but were exonerated, black men are 4 times more likely to be exonerated, right? And that doesn't mean necessarily that 4 times more likely that they're 4 times more likely to be accused, but it shows there's definitely a big fucking difference, right? But that's got a lot more to do with racism than false allegations, if that makes sense. Like when people hear that a black man is accused, it's not because of the allegation that his life is ruined. It's because people are less likely to give a black man the benefit of doubt that his life is ruined. And so it's more so due to racism, even though there's obviously an overlapping of those issues, if that makes sense. Because if it's a white dude, that's not what happens.
Yeah, I was going to say earlier, but it was gonna seem more, I guess, disingenuous or mean that the only people that usually get away with false with those allegations, and it does come out to be true, is rich white men. But it's also I don't want to just point out one race and say whatever, but the situations that I've been through, they both happened with unfortunately white women, and I wasn't dating them or anything. It was just the situation was my first situation. I was in high school. I was 17 years old. I worked at Sonic. I live in Kansas City. I worked at Sonic Southwest Boulevard. It's the most busiest Sonic in the city. So I was friends with my manager's little sister. We went to high school together. He is a part of the LGBT community. This is around 2020. So, all of that stuff, the George Floyd stuff, the LGBTQ stuff, just a whole bunch of things was going on at once. So, Disney posted no, it wasn't that. It was the Mr. Potato Head getting the Mr. taken out of it and just be called Potato Head. I made a post on Facebook. It said, it's Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head for a reason. I was joking around. I was being a troll. Probably shouldn't do that. But she was going off on me in the comments, and then she texted me. She was all like, I'm going to get you back for saying these things about the LGBTQ and blah, blah, blah. Just going off on me about the situation. I didn't really respond. The next day when I went into work, she told everybody in the store that I touched her inappropriately. Mind you, she is a white woman. She was also 17 at the time. I was dating her friend. I wasn't even dating her. I wasn't touching her. I didn't have no interest in her. She told everybody in that store that I did this to her. And then she came up to me. It was all like, I told you I was going to get you back. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm hearing whispers. I'm wondering why nobody want to interact with me. So I'm like, okay, let me ask my manager. I went up to my manager. He was all like, hey, everybody's not talking to you or trying to message you because they said that you touched her inappropriately. I'm like, I didn't. I date her friend. I don't talk to her. I don't see her outside of work. And the only time I do is when we go on double dates. She's dating the cook. I'm dating her friend. They told me, you're going to have to try to get this examined by the police and everything. I was like, I can show you the text messages of her saying she was going to do something to me. I don't interact with this woman. So after that day, I'm not gonna lie. Probably I should have handled the situation a lot better. But I was like, okay, I understand this situation is serious and I shouldn't just do this, but I quit for this job. If everybody is going to just offer it, believe her, and not tell me, and it's 100% valid that you believe her because she's a woman. Women, usual stuff like this happen to women all the time. And I'm not going to take that away, but you didn't even come up to me and talk to me. You didn't do anything in that sense. So I did that, and then I sent my manager the screenshots. I don't know what happened after that. I never heard anything. There was no police report or anything. I didn't go to the police about it because I'm already dealing with a lot with this, Black Lives Matter stuff. I was doing protests and stuff around that time. I'm just gonna quit. That was my first situation. The second.
Well, hang on. No need to share it a second. So, like, ordinarily, when we ask people to share, it's usually to deconstruct and say how you're a fucking liar. I don't really, in these situations, I just don't think there's any purpose to doing it whatsoever. And so there's no need to share the second story. What I would like to just interrupt with for a moment. This is Jeff, the guy who claimed he was falsely accused twice. And, like, I don't mean to be judgy or anything, but let me just show you what he looks like.
Who
'cause
the
I
fuck
didn't know
is Irish's bunghole?
that. Oh, that's from another live. So that's Jeff, the guy who was just in here who claimed he was
Oh
falsely
my
accused.
good lord.
And I don't mean to say that, like, if you have the look, you have the look, but you have the look is all I can say.
That looks like rational.
His nipples, yeah, his nipples look sad. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but I just thought I'd
Yeah,
share
get that off
that's
my
all.
screen.
I'm
That's like
sorry, Mac.
visual
Yeah.
assault right there.
Sorry for yapping for so long, but yeah.
No, it's not that. It's just ordinarily, EJ, like, we would tear these kind of things apart, but, like, due to, like, the intersectionality of racism, like, I don't see any benefit in trying to tear a black guy down who had an allegation by a white woman when there is more of a increased chance that it is in fact going to be a false allegation. So I don't know. I just don't tear those ones down. And you said the other one's a white woman as well. So, like, I just don't get into that.
Yeah. It was about the man argument, actually, the second one. It was crazy.
Bobby or your boy, what's
Yeah, I'd like to go. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. See y'all later.
Thanks, EJ.
Yeah, so I say the first one, men being worried about red flags. Men being worried about false accusations. That's not a red flag. I mean, you have to be realistic. There's certain things that you don't do as a man. You got to take certain precautions in this day and age, or you got to take certain precautions this day and age. Like,
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Are you worried about being the victim of a sexual assault?
I do worry about that sometimes.
Which one do you worry about more?
I worry about getting robbed I worry about getting robbed.
No. Do you worry more about being falsely accused or getting essayed?
I would say falsely accused, because I know me. I'm going to defend myself to the best of my ability.
Well, Bobby,
Go ahead.
the reason I ask that is because you are more likely to be essayed
Yeah.
than falsely accused. Like you as a
I get-
man.
Yeah, the statistics on false accusations of rape is very low, but it's more of the stigma around that, because, a lot of people, it's innocent to proven guilty, but it's not really like that in the public opinion. It's guilty till you're proven innocent. And even then, your reputation is not going to be the same after that. So that's why a lot of men are concerned about being falsely accused.
I don't know, like, if you... So the thing is like, I don't know, like, why people say that. I think, like, guys... I feel like guys say that because they think, like, within, like, communities of, like, women. So, for example, like, I go to college. I feel like guys think that, like, girl groups or, like, big groups of girls, like, know, like, a lot of, like, guys and, like, who to stay away from and blah, 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 and, like, who, like, to avoid. And while that is, like, kind of true, like, there are some, like, guys just, like, in a college setting, for example, like on campus, where kind of like a lot of women kind of like stay away from them because they've heard stories. Like majority of time, people don't know who these perpetrators are. They just know their friends
Rumors.
have been essayed or raped. They don't know who the perpetrator was though, because like from like my experience, whenever like I've talked to people who've like been through these things, they're not naming their perpetrator. They're just saying, I've been through this. This is how it affected me. So like I guess like maybe that's a misconception that like guys have, that like girls just like talk about their perpetrators a lot. Like that's not really true.
So
Like they
okay,
like
so go
not
ahead.
really my
Sorry.
experience. I don't know if like that's any like the women in the comments could probably also give you like their experience like within like their female like friend communities, but like when it comes to like generally like I don't really hear people talking like naming their perpetrator.
Well, yeah, I get what you mean. You're talking about on college campuses, right?
Oh
So
yeah, and just like in areas where there's like like
where people are congregate, or people
these
know each other the most.
populations.
So I'd say the workplace is another place people are concerned. Guys will be concerned
Yeah,
about that because
yeah.
I'm not going to go into a tangent, but it wasn't me being falsely accused. It was me taking steps to make sure that didn't happen because the woman threatened to in text messages say that because I didn't want to be with her, and I told her okay, I don't want to do it, and we moved on. I told her,
Can you
but she was
show
made.
those text messages?
I can. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It just seems so fucking wild that someone who's going to make a false allegation is stupid enough to say it in a text message. Like, doesn't that literally defeat the purpose of the false allegation?
To the people who are confused about the second bullet point, you can come up and like ask questions, but like I said, like it's just like a red flag. Like whenever men refer to like men who refer to women as females, it's just like indicative that they're either misogynistic or they're just not a great guy. Like I don't know what the correlation is. Maybe it's because these men aren't like able to just like respect a basic request that like we want to be called women. But yeah, that's like hopefully clears up any confusion that people have. Like it's all just about a basic request of like respect.
let me see here. I have it on this phone. But while I'm trying to pull it up, the second point, when I live down here in Florida, so when men refer to women as females, I get what you mean. What did you say? It's an adjective. You said correct?
Yeah, it's an
Yes,
adjective. It's not a noun.
yes. I live down here in South Florida, so they have it's more of a they say female. They don't mean it in a derogatory way.
What do they
They're just
call?
saying.
What do they call men?
They call well. There's a lot of things to call men. They down here.
Like, what
Bull.
is the
Go
vast
ahead.
majority of like your guy friends? Like, they refer to women as females. What do they refer to men as?
Well, I'm black, so we say the N word. That N word over
Like,
there,
aside from the N word, what would it be?
dudes, bro. This guy.
Yeah. So do you not like? Do you see the difference though? Like, all of the words that you guys use to like refer to men, those are all nouns. Those aren't adjectives. Like a dude, a guy, a bro. Those are all nouns. Those are all like things that we would refer to humans as, whereas like referring to women as females, like we're more than our sex characteristics. Like
And I have
we're
to ask you,
women.
is this something that I feel like this is something recent, the word people being like using female now as more common? Because this wasn't a thing, I feel like 5-6 years ago. Is that
Yeah,
something
you're
that
right.
you've been experiencing recently? Yeah,
I
I
feel
feel
like
like
it's
that's
the
something.
result of like, I honestly feel like it's the result of like incel culture and like
Yeah, I
men
figured
like
you were going to say that.
going down
Yes.
incel paths.
I
Red
think it's less
pill.
insult. I think it's more. Yeah, I think it's more that. I
Red
think it's more
pill.
like
Because they
Andrew
use it to
Tate.
speak
Yeah, they
broadly
use it
about
to talk
women. Yeah.
exactly. Here's how you get your
That's
females.
still
Yeah,
incel.
Yeah.
That's still incel rhetoric. Andrew Tate spouts incel rhetoric.
yeah. I guess that's fair.
Okay, and
So
then the
yeah,
third
it's
point.
also
Go
just
ahead.
like about a simple like it's literally just like a simple request of like anytime like I like talk to these guys, they're like, no, like you are a female though, like female, haha. Like it's like okay, like yeah, I have you know I have XX chromosomes, like cool, you got me.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
continue, like I don't know, like just refer to us as women. Like it's more respectful. It's like it's like if you were to like call women like refer to women as like like I don't even know. It's just not. It's not respectful.
Oh, yeah, I get you. And then the third point, victim blaming. I really I hate rapists with a passion. So anybody victim blaming somebody, saying, you wearing that dress, you shouldn't be wearing that dress. That wouldn't have happened to you. That all of that is definitely a red flag. I would never say that a day in my life. Now, it's different if you're no, that's still bad too. So I won't even say it. But yeah, that's a red flag. So yeah, that's where I stand on that.
Okay, so you're relatively like not a horrible person, I guess. Your boy, what's your opinion?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
There's one thing I did want to point out that kind of supports the false accusation. Like, I think every man should probably just worry about it, even if he could like did nothing wrong. At some point, you have to worry about it. Because the Jeff guy, like, I'm not sure what I mean, he looks the way he looks, but we don't really specifically know 100% what he's done, or maybe he did look that if he looked like that the whole time. But at first glance, you probably thought, hey, he would do something like that. And for many guys, maybe they look much more of a threat, so they could possibly like be immediately say, oh, this guy could do this. Like, he can't help the way he looks, but it did happen. Like, he immediately thought,
Why are
hey,
you worried of false allegations? Why are you worried?
It did happen to me in high school, but it was like very short. So I mean, I don't know how much I felt about it.
What were you
Uh,
accused of? Was it sexual or was it something different?
Sexual assault, rape, basically, towards this girl who was my best friend for like 3 years, especially since I was a transfer to my high school.
Your
And
best friend of 3 years falsely accused you.
yeah, I mean, we were like in a friend group, but we were mostly close in that friend group specifically. We talked most of the time, especially like she was literally my first friend at that high school. And this was in 2021 or 2018. So like a sophomore year. I'm not specifically remember the grade I was in, but this was like before COVID happened. Like literally like a week later, COVID had hit, and we had to stay at home. So this was like in February. I was just walking
So
home.
hold on, we can just like,
Mhm.
did you have sex with her? Yes or no?
Nope. Nope.
Then what did she what did she
Rape.
accuse you of?
It's rape. That's it. It's rape because
Why would your friend of 3 years accuse you of rape if you never had sex? Like, what was the motive?
I was walking home and from my club, and I saw her. So I usually did my little greeting with her. I just say, "What's up? What are you doing? How's everything going on?" And but she was like very, very like, I guess, timid. Like, she didn't want to talk at all. And out of nowhere, this guy comes out of like from behind, started pushing me around. I thought he was like joking with me at first, but then he was actually very serious. Like, "What are you talking to her? What are you doing?" And I found out like through friends that she had a psycho boyfriend. And like through the whole train ride, she was like, "Don't talk to her, don't say shit, stop fucking saying shit, whatever." He actually started following me home, so I just stopped in the middle of nowhere. It's like, don't
Oh
follow
my
me.
Nobody cares.
god.
And then,
Okay.
literally the next day, because he got hit by these dudes that are nearby because they saw like I was still little, so they picked on like these two random guys, just hit him. This was off school. And the next day, I get called to the principal's office, and they're like, "We got reports saying that you know, did this to your what's her name, Leslie or whatever," and it was the L, but like it was very short because immediately like after that she came to me and apologized. She admitted to the principal like, "Hey, I'm sorry. This is just I was scared because he had a psycho boyfriend. She was literally protecting him, and then we didn't talk at all throughout the senior year, especially since code happened, it went by very fast because not only
So
did
her
code
psycho
happen.
boyfriend forced her to make a false allegation.
That's what I'm assuming. Because I like to assume he forced her instead of he just immediately did it. Know what I mean? Like she didn't just do it, protect him, but
So she was in an abusive relationship, and her psycho boyfriend forced her to make this allegation against you.
yes.
So she was a victim
I
of
mean,
abuse
yes,
and
but I didn't know at the
manipulation.
time. Like literally, I found out a couple days later from friends that she did this. But you know, I understand she was probably abused. I'm not specifically sure, but I mean, she most likely did. I mean, everyone knew, but she was willing to like do this to me because we were just three best friends, 3 years. We knew each other for 3 years, and literally when I got that call, I was like arguing with my parents, like, "Why would you do this? Like, what happened?" I told you, don't call the police. Everything's fine. You don't need to, because he got hit. And my parents, I told this like immediately after all this happened, I went to my parents like to explain what happened to them, and they want to call the police. Like, oh, we should, you shouldn't do this to you. It's not right. I said, don't call the police. Everything's fine. Don't worry. It's over. And the next day I get called down. I immediately thought my parents called the police on them, but because he got hit by these random people.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. So she was a victim of like an abusive relationship. I don't know. Like that's interesting.
I mean, I know she was, but the fact that like in my head during that whole time, like she wasted 3 years of friendship for this guy.
So
Like 3 years.
what did like aside from like your friendship like being diminished, which would have happened regardless of like if she made the false allegation or not, like if she was in that abusive and controlling of a relationship, like it like that wouldn't have had a factor. So like say like that didn't happen, it still would like you would still would have lost her as a friend for that time that she was with this guy. Like what consequences did you suffer as a result of the allegation?
Literally, my professor told me that I could have lose my, I guess, program to help me pay off my college tuition because I was still looking into colleges at the time.
But you didn't lose it,
would have
right?
broke. Nope, I could have because one of the requirements is just have no criminal history. And
So you
like,
could have, but you didn't. Is there anything else that could have happened?
well, my social
Or
life, yeah, the whole social, like literally as
Is
soon
there
as I
anything
heard
else
that
that did
day,
happen that was negative?
and that's it. It was like very short because literally like two days or a day later, she just admitted like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lie. I'm sorry, I didn't want to do this, but still, like hearing that I could have done
so
something, like hearing the idea of someone just out of nowhere, like this happened like literally the next day, and I got called to the principal's office, and I was told, hey, you sexually assaulted her, or you did this to her, you raped her. I'm like, in my head, I was like blanked out because this never happened to me. Like I've
so
never even
you didn't suffer any
smoked weed.
long-term consequences though. Like you would that be fair to say?
No long-term consequences, but the fact that like this happened,
So
you know what I mean? Like
then
I've never
yeah,
even had like,
things happen all the time to people. But like wouldn't you say that like I don't like it just seems like I don't know like there were no long-term consequences. There were no like real major consequences with like in like
Why
when
would you
it
be
did
scared of this?
happen.
Yeah, why
Yeah,
would you be
like why
scared of
would
this
you be
moving
scared of
forward,
it
given the
again?
fact that this was such a unique situation, right?
because it could happen anytime. It could happen to any guy. Like as I said, like even I never smoked weed. I never did anything illegal. I was just going by college. I was like going by high school, and out of nowhere I get called to the principals. I never even gone down for like detention, and I get called down to the office saying, "Hey, you raped somebody." Like
So
that's just a whole new thing I just never thought of. Like I never thought this
like
could happen to me.
you can see how like if someone had no evidence, there's really nothing anyone can do, right? Like it's not like she went to the police and like the police were involved. Like there's really like nothing that you can do, especially if you have like no credible story and no evidence.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure what she was trying to do was that saying that I beat him up. That's what she was trying to do. Because apparently the police were involved,
Wait,
but because it happened,
that night when you saw her scared and he came out, there was no physical altercation between you and the boyfriend, right?
he only just pushed me against like the wall, twice. That's it. But like literally, as we were passing by, like I
So I'm not
stopped because he
understanding
tried.
why would she have to lie? I don't understand that part at all.
Because from I heard from these two from our three close friends saying that like they've been dating for like a long time, and she just like he's just crazy obsessed with her.
I
Like
get that. So why would he want her to announce to everyone that she, as a result of grape, had sex with another man? That doesn't really track to me very well. Like I can't imagine an abusive man would want their partner to go around saying other men were sexual with her, even in the case of grape. That would feel like an
because
ego punch.
no, because like literally like, he got involved with the police. That's what happened. Like, that's what he had to explain to the police. Like, oh, why'd you get in the fight? Why'd you get punched? What happened? And like specifically, I'm assuming that's what happened because the next day I get called to the principal's office. He got punched and the police were involved. And even the principal said since it didn't
He
happen,
got
and
punched by who?
these two guys, like these girls,
Do you understand? It's not
were
making any sense. Why would he ask her to make false allegations against you
because he got punched and the police got involved.
by two
Because
strangers?
yeah,
So he's the victim of physical assault. How does him claiming that you'd raped his girlfriend help him?
because he had to explain the whole story. Because he had to explain that he was trying to get physical with me.
But
And
he
like
didn't get
he
punched
already
by
had
you. He got punched by two random guys on the street, right?
yes, but that's why I'm saying she
And
lied to
and,
her.
and he and
She
he
lied for
wasn't
him.
and he wasn't in trouble, right? Because
He did.
he had been beaten up, right?
No, he did because he was already physically abusing her. Like he had to explain the whole thing. Like even if he didn't get involved, this thing would go. Everyone
Even
would
if he didn't
know.
get involved with what? You're saying the boyfriend got punched in the face by two guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and the
Like
police saw him that night?
no, like he immediately went to the. He immediately got approached by the police because there was a physical altercation. Because it's like it's
So
New
he
York.
went to the police to file a report.
No, he didn't. No, he did not get. He did not file with police. It's just police were there. They just saw these two guys beating up a kid, and that's it.
Okay, these two boys beating up the abusive boyfriend, correct?
No, it's two grown men.
This story is so incohesive that I can't even visualize this in my head.
Yeah,
It was
this is kind
short.
of hard to follow.
So like, it doesn't make any sense. So let's be clear, right? The cops saw two men beating up a young boy. They run over to protect the young boy, and the young boy says, "Those two men are not the grapists, but just so you know, my girlfriend was just raped recently." How is that relevant? Why would she do that? That makes no sense at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like I didn't know why. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why. But literally, like the next day, I get called to the principal's office saying, "Hey, she accused you of this. You know, she accused you. That's it. Like I didn't know what to do." And it was so short because she later, like next day, she said like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, this didn't happen." And then literally the next day, because that
She came to you and she apologized, correct?
no, she said it while I was going to the principal's office because she was going up
She
and
said
she just
what? You're walking beside her?
no, I'm just going like she got called to principal. She went to the principal's office and then I got called. So I'm going downstairs.
Okay,
She's
stop.
going upstairs.
Okay, so as you're going upstairs, she's going downstairs. She tells you what?
She says she's sorry, and then I was confused. I'm like, what do you mean? What are you sorry for?
And that's it. I thought you said she took it back a few days later. Remember you said
She
she
did.
came to you and took it back?
Yeah, because literally I got called to the principal's
So you
office.
spoke to her a few days after the principal's office, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did she not tell you why she lied then?
We're all assuming. Like, no, she didn't tell me. We didn't talk at all. That's it. Like
You
I
said
knew.
a couple of days after the high school principal's office
Mm-hmm.
that she came to you and told you that she lied and she apologized. Do you remember that?
She did, but we didn't
Okay,
talk at all
so
because everyone else is telling me. Because I literally went to all of our friends,
so
our close
she came
friends,
to you a
saying
few days later, yes or no? Did she talk to you a
yes,
few days after? Okay.
yes,
Did she talk to you with other people around her or was it just you and her?
just me and her.
What I'm asking you is, what the fuck did she say to you exactly?
She said she's sorry because she had to protect her boyfriend. Like literally, she just said sorry
Okay,
for
did
all
she
of this shit
explain
that happened.
how? Didn't you ask her how does this? Her boyfriend wasn't under threat. Her boyfriend had just been beaten up, right? Why did her boyfriend need to be protected?
Because he was stalking her. I told you. I said she was a psycho boyfriend. Literally, all their close friends knew
So
this.
how does you, being her rapist, protect her boyfriend? Can you answer that question?
I'm telling you, I don't know. That's why I'm confused.
You
I
didn't
don't
even
know
ask
why
her.
she.
This woman just accused you of rape. She came to you to apologize, and you didn't bother asking her why.
No, because I was done. I was done. Like literally done. Because I even asked all of her friends, "What's with this boy? Who is this guy?" And she's saying that, oh, he threatens her all the time. She's constantly
What has
stalking
that got
her.
to do with her accusing you?
That's what
How
I'm
does
saying.
her
I don't.
accusing? All right, none of this fucking makes sense, bro. I don't know if I believe any of it. I'm sorry.
I don't care.
I
I
don't
mean,
know. Like, it's also not making sense to me. I'm like, I'm not like
he's. I'm saying
understanding.
he's a psycho. All right, he's complete psycho. Like literally, even before this happened, everyone was noticing that she was wearing like black sweaters. Like she was like more shy because she was always like happy and shit.
The fuck has that got to do with anything?
Because it leads to the psycho boyfriend. I'm telling you, the psycho boyfriend. Like literally saying about the psycho boyfriend
So she was,
in an abusive
yeah. So
relationship. Hmm.
I I don't really know. Like, I don't know. Um, Giovanni, praying hands. Do you guys want to like chime in to the conversation or like talk about something different or?
No, I was just gonna chime in on the first point. Like, the issue with it is that you're trying to basically tell whether or not someone's lying, and it's very hard to do, right? Like Rain, for example, quotes a false report of 2 to 10%, but I mean, there's multiple studies out there if you look for them. It depends on criteria, control, and all this stuff. What is it? It's the U.S. Department of Justice quotes like a 41%. So
The DOJ does not quote 41%. What study was that?
it quite literally, the U.S. Department of Justice in a study.
What study? Like specifically, was it a specific like? Because I know that's not the overall like general population. That might have been a specific demographic in a specific area, but like that's not what the DOJ says. The DOJ, like
Mac,
this.
we have an interesting situation. Can I bring someone up to ask your boy a question?
Yeah.
Who's most familiar with that episode? In the comments, who is most familiar with that episode that I can bring you up and you can question? Because, like, it makes much more sense to me. All right, it makes much more sense to me that your boy is, like, remembering part of an episode, but not all of it.
What?
So, Tom, can you share what it is you think?
I don't know if y'all can hear me.
Yeah, we can.
So there's an episode of Euphoria where the girl Maddie is getting abused by her boyfriend Nate. So what happens is
Oh, I know that
Nate,
episode.
yeah, so Nate beats her up and she happened to have had relations with this older dude. Nate beats her up, they take her out the classroom and stuff like that. They make her do a report because her mom reported it. They make her do a report, they take him out the classroom, they arrest him. So because she's in an abusive relationship, he makes her lie and say that the dude who she had relations with, who was older than her, he makes her lie and say that he raped her, so that's where the bruises and her getting beat up came from.
Your boy, are you quoting an episode of Euphoria?
No.
Because what's really
Oh,
weird to me as well was that when you went,
what the fuck happened?
because when you went to name your
Mhm.
friend, it was really weird that you were like, what was her name? Leslie, and it was like you've known her for 3 years and you couldn't remember her name.
Because it was like 3 years ago. It's 4 years ago at this point.
I remember all my friends from high school pretty fucking
I don't.
clearly.
You want a friend like that? Hell no.
I mean, it
She was
sounds
your
like,
best friend for 3 years,
Iris goes
Yeah.
back to high school for.
right? Your
So-
boy,
I don't
like
remember her.
So
close friends
your
for
boy.
Okay. All
You
right.
got
Thanks,
caught on
Dom.
a
I'll drop
lie.
your
I'm
bomb
just
back
gonna
down.
like
Thanks.
move on. So Giovanni.
Thanks, Dom. Can we get a W Dom in the comments? Sorry, go ahead,
Yeah,
Mike.
W Don for real. So Giovanni,
shit.
what?
He's sorry.
Hold on, Donnie. Hold on, Donnie. Chill. Giovanni, what were we talking about again? False accusations, blah blah blah. Anyways, Giovanni, continue.
Hold on, Mac. Let me drop before. I didn't even know I was in the box. Sorry,
you're
Matt.
good. You're good. I'll help you. Fucking dead. So Giovanni, go ahead. What did you want to continue talking?
Just that, like, depending on those like controls and stuff, the
Oh yeah, the
cases of
DOJ.
yeah.
Yeah, so the Department of Justice, like, I don't know like what study you're citing, but like that's not the widely accepted like Department of Justice like statistic. Like you realize that the DOJ like agrees with the 2 to 10%, right?
They do quote the organization who, ran the 2 to 10%, but again, like I'm saying, is that it depends
Stop right there,
on what
Giovanni. There
study.
is no. Hang on, Giovanni. That's a lie. There is no one organization that ran the 2 to 10%. So what are you talking about now?
The organization that used the
The 2
study
to
from 3
10% is a
different.
range. The 2 to 10% is a range, and it's a range to represent dozens of studies that have shown numbers ranging from 2
3
to
studies.
10%.
The organization
Multiple
that uses
studies.
it is 3 studies. No, it's not. You want me to
Multiple
quote them?
studies.
Let's see. One's
Hang on,
way.
hang on, hang on. How are you going to tell me that there's not multiple studies that have the range of 2 to 10%?
Because the NSVRC, which is what RAIN uses, has a PDF that you can look at that quotes the 3 studies that they use. The
So
following
you're
studies
stating the
support
one that
these.
RAIN in this specific PDF is quoting. Is that what you're saying?
If you go to RAIN and you go to their sources, it will quote the NSVRC for multiple different stats, right? In the documents that they provide.
You're missing the question. Go back to what you're saying, the DOJ. Where's the study of the DOJ says 41% of false allegations? What study
I'd
is
have to
that?
look that up. I
Why don't you
know
look it
I've
up?
read it.
We'll
I
wait.
don't have it with me. Give me a second.
Okay, we'll wait. It doesn't exist, so feel free to take your time. You'll need time to be able to find it. Funniest thing tonight? Oh, Mac, drop me. I didn't even know I was up here in the box. Richie.
No, that was
Richie, that was
hilarious.
great.
But yeah, Giovanni, whenever you find that, please like present that because that's not what the DOJ says. But like, I don't know. I feel like you're maybe like citing something that like the DOJ said was like I don't even know what the 41% would be. Like that doesn't line up with anything. But
Mac, you missed the whole bunghole episode yesterday.
I was asleep.
There was a religious guy in the live, and we talked about using a crucifix dildo on my bunghole, and he was getting a little antsy, and then someone decided to create a username called Irish's Bunghole.
What the hell?
In addition, we had multiple people coming in claiming to be God in order to be able to teach them a lesson.
God.
Yesterday was a little bit weird, I'm not going to lie.
That's very weird. But yeah, Giovanni, also I would still say like men who worry about false accusations, like they are red flags. Like men who worry about anything outside of like the problem, they're like it's a red flag. It's a red flag to me whenever someone worries about a minority of like the issue, whenever like the larger issue at hand is much more prevalent and much more damaging. It's like, if you ask me, would I rather like be falsely accused or would I rather be like essayed? I would pick the false accusation any day. So it's just like, it's not even comparable. Like the two scenarios aren't even comparable.
The thing is, you're trying to compare both things that are not like inherently good. Like both things are wrong, and we can acknowledge that.
Yeah, but one
And
thing's way
one can
worse than the
ruin.
other.
I mean,
One thing is way worse than the other. Being raped has severe psychological damages to the victim. It can have monetary damages. So like, you can lose money as a result of being raped through like legal proceedings or like there's still a lot of issues with like grape kits and like people having to pay for those out of pocket, things like that. So there's monetary loss. There is long-term psychological, damages. There are short-term psychological damages. There's, and that's something that like you have to live with for the rest of your life. Whereas people who are falsely accused come up here and they talk about it like it's no big deal, and they say, "Oh yeah, this happened to me in high school, and it was a couple day event, and no long-term effects were caused." That's the majority of like people who are falsely accused. There were no long-term effects.
You're saying that based off of the people who've come up, but there's studies and actual cases where people have been shunned by peers, who have lost their job, which is a financial burden, who have the psychological damage that you're talking about as well.
Did you find that study, buddy?
By being attacked and stuff. Like there are cases like that.
Giovanni,
I let you talk. Are you just going to interrupt me?
Wait, sorry. I just want to like ask you a question for clarification. Are you saying that there are certain false accusations which can be equivalent to like rape?
The thing is, I'm not saying they're equivalent, right? They're two separate crimes. Like, I can sit here and acknowledge, like, yeah, rape is horrible, right? But I can also say being falsely accused of a crime that you did not commit, right, is also horrible. And then people believing it, even your close friends, whatever the case is, because, I mean, that's how society is, right? Like, and then losing your job, or I mean, people have been assaulted because of false accusations as well. Like, you're talking about all these other things, and you're saying, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. It does matter when, again, there's multiple sources, right? And if you want to look through all of them,
it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. This is the problem, Giovanni. Okay?
Are we gonna keep?
Giovanni, stop! You're just annoying. Did you find a study? Yes or no? Giovanni, did you find a study? Yes or no?
Come on now.
Giovanni, did you find a study? Yes or no?
And like, I just want to be clear. What I'm saying is not subjective. Like, there's no subjectivity behind like whether or not rape is worse than a false accusation. Like, that is an objective. I will make that statement. It is an objective fact that being raped is significantly more damaging, significantly more impactful, and significantly harder to overcome than being falsely accused. That is objective fact. That's not like a subjective opinion. So
I mean, if it's objective, you have to base that off of facts and evidence. So
yeah, I could give you the facts and evidence. I just gave you the facts and evidence.
You talked about psychological
I would say that
damage,
every person who is a victim of rape. Hold on, Giovanni. Do you think that every person who is falsely accused of SA suffers from long-term psychological damage? Every single person.
I mean, that's mostly talking about subjective cases, right?
The answer would be no. And I would argue that every single victim of rape, regardless of like the circumstances, faces long-term psychological damage as a result. So like even just that fact alone like goes to show how significant, like how much more significance sexual violence has on someone's life. Also, like, it ruins a person's trust in like sexual partners. It ruins their like it like there's so many things that like can happen as a result of that. So it's not like don't even play with me. Like it's not subjective, it's objective. And if you can't recognize that, like either you haven't been through sexual violence, or you just, you know, have and you're choosing to be ignorant for the sake of a point. What'd you say, Giovanni?
I have, but
you have. Then you should know. Then you should know that like SA is significantly more impactful in someone's life than a false accusation.
Again, it depends on the crime. Like if you're beaten to an inch of your life, which one's worse, right? They're gonna both bring that psychological harm, physical harm.
Being raped
Yeah,
is
being
worse than being
raped.
beaten to
Why do
an
you
inch
think
of your
it's
life.
worse than being beaten to an inch of your life?
Because it doesn't have the violative effect. It doesn't have the effect of someone taking control of your body in that sense. It doesn't completely disrupt your own sense of sexual self. It doesn't disrupt your sexual relations with partners in the future. That's why it's worse.
So, quite literally, you can equate that to the same thing, depending on
No,
the
I
circumstances.
believe I literally just told you why it's different. Did
You're
you
talking
miss the
about,
whole
okay,
part?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
like-
you said taking
Does
control,
getting beat
right?
up
Taking control.
does getting beat up make you scared to have sex with your partner? No. Does getting beat up
It could.
destroy
It could
your?
cause
Oh, it could.
psychological
Oh, it could.
damage
Oh,
that
it
could prevent it.
Yeah, in very rare situations. So don't fucking like be an
In
idiot.
very rare situations, and you know that
And I
for a
don't
fact.
care about
Do you
them.
have a source?
And I don't care about them. Do you have a source, Giovanni? Because I
You
can
have
tell
a
you right
source.
now.
You're making
Sure,
the
I have a
positive claim.
sure. I have
You're
a positive
making
claim.
a positive claim.
Sure, Giovanni. I can tell you right now that over 30% of women suffer PTSD after being raped. More than 11% of women continue to suffer PTSD after being raped. There's an 80% higher likelihood that a woman is going to suffer a major depressive episode as a result of being raped. Women who have been raped are 7 times more likely to unalive themselves than women who have not been raped. When you look at men who've been falsely accused, those stats are not the same. Now, if you would like to give me a source that shows men who've been falsely accused are 7 times more likely to unalive themselves, or are 31% more likely to have PTSD at some point, and 11% of them will have persistent PTSD, then why don't you give me those sources? Because I can give you the sources to show you that women who suffer from rape do suffer long-term mental effects, and that those effects also go over to their partners. Because when you look at their disruption of their love life, those are also well documented. So do you have a source that tells me that men who got beat up don't want to have physical intimacy with a partner again? I'd like to see those sources, Giovanni. But given the fact you couldn't give me the original source for your bullshit 41% number, I'm quite confident you're not going to give me a source for what I just asked you. Because you came to this debate with a lot of opinions and not much actual fucking evidence.
Yeah, I fear
But
the
you
eight.
know that you quoting numbers is not a source. So you do know what a source is, right?
Would you like me to get you the source right now? It could take you
Yeah,
10
that's what I
seconds.
asked.
Sure,
Oh,
10 seconds.
thank you.
Yeah, we're still waiting on the DOJ source that you said you would provide. But yeah, so Giovanni, wait, so you hold on, you said that you were essayed. Sorry, can I like clarify, was that grape or essay? There is a difference.
Yeah, I'd rather not speak about it though.
But you'd like to
I will say I
weaponize it, but
was.
you don't want to speak
Well,
about it.
but hold on, Giovanni, I'm literally, you don't have to go into
Are
details.
you
That's not
victim
what I'm
blaming
asking.
right now,
I'm
Irish?
just,
I'm saying
I'm
that you're
asking you to
weaponizing.
push both of you.
Hmm?
Don't talk over me. It pisses me off, both of you. So like, I just want you to clarify, Giovanni. Can you just like let me know, like, was it grape or was it essay? Because there's a big difference, major difference between the two. And we're talking on like specifically grape. Whenever I use the term essay, it's just because like it's easier to like say that than like grape 1,000 times. But I am like specifically referring to grape and grape victims. And those statistics that Irish just brought up, I believe those are pertinent to grape victims. Pertaining to grape victims. So, like, Giovanni, was it grape or essay?
Do I have to clarify? Like that is kind of.
I mean, like, the fact that you don't want to kind of tells me everything I need to know.
I mean, it's kind of personal, and it's also my trauma. Like,
So, was it grape or essay? Like,
what? Okay, let me ask you this: whether
How does
either, if it's
clarifying
one,
it hurt you in any way,
Irish,
Giovanni?
oh my God, you
Giovanni,
just
how
left
does
it
it
out,
hurt you to
don't you?
clarify it?
Huh?
How does it hurt you to clarify was an essay or grape? You're the one who brought it up. It's simply a clarification. Was
Yeah,
an
because
essay
she
or
made the
grape?
broad assumption that based off
She
of
didn't make
my,
the assumption. What she
she
said
did
was,
make the
if
assumption.
you
She
had
said you
been.
probably don't know what it.
Nope. She said, if you had been graped, then you would know. And then you turned around and tried to say that she'd assumed you'd not been graped. I heard the entire exchange, you idiot. So are you going to say if it's an essay or a grape? Because otherwise it sounds like you're trying to weaponize the idea that you have been either or in order to actually attack other victims of grape and essay, which just seems a little fucking, I don't know, weird to me, Giovanni.
What's weird is you guys' obsession with it. No, great.
What's the obsession about, Giovanni?
So are
Holding
you gonna like give an
pencil-dicked,
answer to the
insecure men
question
like
or
you
no?
accountable?
You brought it up.
I already answered.
Giovanni, you
Already
brought it up.
answered.
So like, are you gonna answer the question or no?
Quite literally already answered.
Well, he didn't hear you. So could you say it again?
It was great.
Why did that like take so long for you to say?
Why are you pressuring me to share?
I'm not pressuring you to share. I just like wanted
You
to clarify
quite
the
literally
detail
did.
because
You
Giovanni,
quite
can I
literally
explain?
did.
No, Giovanni, I didn't ask for details. I asked if you had like which one it was so that way I could like like I could see if you were like coming into this conversation like with legitimate concerns, or if you were just one of those guys who has like been touched inappropriately and like now wanting to like weaponize that as like some sort of way to diminish like rape victims. Because a lot of guys will come up here and they will weaponize the fact that they've been touched inappropriately to hurt and harm rape victims, and it's gross, it's grotesque, it's disgusting, it's not cool. So I was trying to clarify if that was you or not through that question. Because I don't like when people do that. I don't like when people come up into this live and they use an inappropriate scenario or something inappropriate that happened to them to harm other victims of a crime, which is not at all the same thing. So does that make sense?
Yeah, but it should have been clear. If what Irish said is true, that you specified that I didn't know what it felt like, right, for that crime, and I said, well, basically, thanks for the assumption because I have. That should have been clarification.
Well, and see, that's like also just like weird to me that you as a rape victim are telling me that like there are scenarios where a false accusation can be equally as damaging. Like I guess like that just doesn't click in my head. That's not really like computing. I don't get that because I don't think like I could tell you a single woman who's been like a victim of rape who like is like, yeah, like a false accusation could be equivalent. Like I've just never heard that come out of like female rape victims' mouths. So I'm just trying to like understand why men say that, like male victims say that.
I've also never seen someone come up and say that 41% of people are lying. That's a new one.
That is also a new one.
And then they fabricate sources that they never produce.
Multiple
Did you find that study, Giovanni? Did you find that study,
all
Giovanni?
the way up to 53%, depending
Giovanni,
on the
did you
pool.
find that study that you said the DOJ relies upon? Did you find that study? No? Shocker. It's almost like you have a pattern of lying, Giovanni.
Almost like you have a pattern of just yapping.
Being correct.
So Giovanni, like, why do you think
still
like
have that
why do
source? You said you were going to send it to me, though.
Giovanni?
Yeah, I already said it. I announced it. I'll do it in the comments again. Go ahead, Mac.
Giovanni, I'm just like trying to understand like why a rape victim would say that like there's scenarios where a false accusation can be equally as damaging. Can you give me more insight to that? Like, I don't understand.
I mean, again, it depends on the cases. Both of them can involve trauma. Like, the cases are subjective. That's why also when like police look at them, right, it depends on multiple factors. Like the reason most of them don't go forward too is because they're withdrawn. And this, I mean, if you mirror it from like the UK, which has the statistic, right, but fortunately the US doesn't. But let's say they're pretty similar, right, in terms of Western civilization. The amount of withdrawn cases increases every year because of the time it takes. Right? That is why
you have a source for that?
Prosecution.
You have a source for that?
Yeah. Give me a second. Let me pull it up.
Great. Before you give us that source, can you give us a source for the 41%?
God. I
Since you're
also
looking,
like
Giovanni.
like what were you saying about the prosecution? Like prosecutors, huh?
And how about we center the conversation on the United States?
I just don't understand. Like I've never heard like this is like this like it's just insane to me that male rape victims will say these things, but like I've never heard this come out of a female rape victim's mouth. It's almost as if there's like, you know, like more of like a, I don't know. Like I feel like I don't know. That's just very weird. I don't even know like what to say to that. It's just fucking weird.
Okay, well,
Especially coming
you
out
as
of
a
someone's
woman,
mouth
do you
who's
have
like
the risk
experienced it.
of being like a high chance, right? Compared to a man, do you have a high risk of being falsely accused?
No, but I have a higher risk of being raped a
Mac does
second
have a
or
higher risk
third or
of being
fourth time.
falsely accused. Mac has been falsely accused more than any person I know. Mac gets falsely accused on this live like once a week. So what is your point, Giovanni?
She just stated she didn't have the same risk. What are you on about?
Oh, I think she was forgetting about it on TikTok.
Yeah,
Men
like on
commonly
TikTok,
come on here.
it's yeah.
There's someone in the comments right now making false accusations, for God's sake. Happens all the time on TikTok.
False allegations of rape?
Someone literally accused Mac yesterday or 2 days ago of rape. So what is your point, Giovanni?
Those types of false accusations feel like different.
Okay, well then,
Versus
as a
most of the false
man, I
accusations
assume
that
I'm as
happen on
equally
stage.
likely to be falsely accused than you, right?
Do what?
As a man, I'm as equally likely to be falsely accused as you are. What is your point now?
Again, it's perspective. Like,
what is your point?
As the two different genders have to worry about different.
Okay, I'm a man. Why don't you tell me why it is I need to worry about false allegations?
You're more susceptible to it.
I'm also more susceptible to being hit by a fucking lightning strike if I go outside, right? But I'm not terrified of being hit by a lightning strike, right?
Yeah, like Giovanni, the reason I'm not like it's not computing in my head is because like you like haven't been falsely accused, you've been raped, but yet you're like it seems almost as if you're like more scared of being falsely accused. And like that's just what's not computing in my head. Like women have a rational fear of being raped because it happens to 1 in 6 or 1 in 5 or something around that. So like that's a rational fear. And that's why we have that fear is because it's quite literally something that happens super frequently. So it's irrational for men to be scared of false accusations because it
Well, I think it's irrational given the fact that you're more likely to be raped. You are, as a man, more likely to be raped than you are to be falsely accused. So
That
wouldn't it
too.
make more sense for you to be more afraid of being raped, which is a much more harmful thing? That's what I'm not tracking.
Hold on, I want to talk to this guy that's coming up. So, I'll call you okay. So, why are you putting in the comments, yet the host has never been grasped? I think you meant raped. So, like, what's up with that?
Have you ever been raped?
Why do you need to know that?
If it's irrational for a old boy to not care about false accusations because it's never happened to him, then it's irrational for you and any woman to even care about rape if it's never happened to them.
I literally have a video on my page about it. Like,
So you have been raped.
yeah, like, that's why I talk about this so often.
Okay, so that's how you care. So what you're saying is the women that have never been raped, they should not care about this issue. You can care.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's why I care so much about this issue. And like even before that happened, I was like really passionate about this issue. It just like made me
But
even
that's
more.
inconsistent. You said if it doesn't happen to you, you shouldn't care.
I
So
don't
why
think,
should anyone
hang on,
care about
hang on.
that?
Okay, I don't think that's what she said. I believe
that's
what she said. Well, Corey, you can correct me. I thought what she said was that the likelihood of it happening to you
No, she said
is
it's
so much.
irrational.
Well, hang
No,
on,
she said
hang on,
it's-
hang on. Okay, just let me finish. She was saying that it's rational for women to fear being raped because it happens to 1 in 5 of them. What she was saying was it would seem irrational for men to be scared of false allegations when the chance of being falsely accused is far, 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 far smaller than 1 in 5. That's what she was saying was
That's
irrational.
what you're saying. What she said was,
She literally said, Mac, did
no,
you
what
not
she
say that
said
or am I
was,
wrong?
That
let me
is
tell you
quite
what she
literally
said.
what I said.
She said, you've been raped, but you've never been falsely accused. So why do you care more about that than this? That's exactly what she said. We all
Yeah,
heard
she
it.
also said that.
Yeah, she said that first.
She
So
also
that's
said
what I'm
that.
saying.
And she
If
said the irrational part was why are men scared of something happening
so, she
that is
doesn't believe
very
the first
unlikely to
part.
happen?
Okay, so she realizes that first
No,
part
no, no,
doesn't make
no.
sense.
No, no, no. That's not what. What are you, stupid? She's saying that if Giovanni has been graped, has a real world life experience being graped, right? But has never been falsely accused, wouldn't it make more sense that the trauma of the grape would lead to greater fear of being graped, which is statistically likely, based upon studies in regard to how grape affects your mental health, that you develop PTSD, which is a form of being terrified that that thing will happen to you again, right? 1 in 3 people who get graped develop PTSD, which is this crippling fear that something like that will happen again. So what
So
she's
you
saying
say you're
is,
stupid, so I'm gonna
if
call
she,
you an imbecile. So
you are
imbecile,
stupid. So what she's saying is, if
yes, you.
Giovanni has been graped, doesn't that mean that he is much more likely to be scared of being graped than being falsely accused? What are you not following, you ding dong?
Imbecile. Imbecile. It's irrational. If you care about that, like she said, if it's irrational for someone to care about something, not to care about something that doesn't
I
happen
don't
to
think she
them,
said irrational
then
on that
it's
point. Her
irrational
irrationality was on the
for
5
anyone that
stat.
doesn't that hasn't been raped to care. So all this wild
That's you're
woo
mixing
and
up
crying
2
that she's doing to
Okay,
statements,
men,
you
so
ding
wait,
then
hold
she
dong.
on,
should
Irish.
care
Hold
since it
on,
doesn't
Irish.
happen to them.
Let me talk to him.
Fucking imbecile.
So okay, what's your point? I literally just told you that like I have been through that. So what's your fucking point? There's no other women up on
My
the
point
panel.
is, no one else should care then. According to your logic, nobody else that
Why
has
shouldn't
never
I
been
care
raped
though? Because
should
that's what
care.
you came up
No,
here to
no,
attack.
you
That's what you
can't
said in the
care.
comments. That was your big gotcha. Oh, she's never been raped, so she shouldn't like get to care about this. That was your big gotcha that you probably
Yes,
thought that you
yes. So you've
were
been
gonna
raped, so
win
you
when
can
you came
care.
up
But
here
why?
asking
I'm
that.
telling you why the rest of the world will never care, because most of us have never been raped. That's why the rest of the world will never care. According to your logic, I'm just going by your logic. You know, I think your logic is stupid, which is why I care. You know, because I have siblings. You know, I have a mom, so I care about the issue.
You
But
clearly don't
according to your logic, no one else should ever care if they haven't been through it. You can see how that's irrational. This man has
That's
every
not what I
right to be worried
said. That's
about
not what I
something
said. I
that
said it was
happens
an
to
irrational
40% of
fear.
men.
Bro,
False
that's not what I said.
accusations
I said
happen
it
to
was an
40.
irrational fear to fear like a false accusation when you've been the victim of a grape. That's what I said.
Men are more likely to be falsely accused by women than they are to be raped by men.
That's not
That's not
true.
true. That's quite
very
literally
true.
the opposite.
The
Men are
the
more likely
the
to be hold
the
on. Men are more
paternity
likely
fraud
to
rate
be
is
men are
30%.
more likely to be graped than they are to be falsely accused. What the fuck are
By
you
men, no,
on?
they're not. Men suffer at a
Yes, they are.
40% rate of paternity fraud. When it comes to grape, that's not
That
an
has
issue for
nothing to
men.
do with
There's
what we're
Sorry,
false
what
talking
the
about.
fuck is
accusation.
paternity fraud
You're
got
kind
to
of
do with
like,
this?
are you like on some sort of drug? Like
Paternity
what's
fraud
going
is
on?
falsely accusing somebody of being a father. When you say false accusation, I'm taking everything into account, not just grape.
We're talking
I'm
about false
taking
sexual allegations, so
that too.
focus.
That too.
Okay, we're talking about grape.
There's a
False allegations of grape.
that was
Okay.
just falsely accused of,
Has that been clarified to you, okay?
and men still suffer at a higher rate
We're not
than
talking about
grape.
anything
That's a
else outside
fact.
No,
of
they
greed.
don't. You're
Well, take
wrong.
that with the CDC. That's what the CDC says. It ain't me.
Okay, so why don't you show me the source
Take
for
it
the
up with the.
CDC?
No, I got you. Give me 1 second.
All
I'm gonna
right,
pull up.
pull it up.
I got you. Because people like to argue without facts when all it takes is
Please.
a little
Because I think it's about, is it 1 in 20 men who get graped? I think it is.
by men or by women. Because I've been gripped by
I
women.
don't distinguish between the two.
I
Why?
distinguish between. I would be
Why?
traumatized if I was gripped by a man. I was
Why do you
gripped. I was gripped by my
why
house
do you
help. I was
distinguish
not
between the
traumatized.
two?
Because
Why do you
when I was
distinguish between
gripped,
two?
because when I was gripped by my house help, I was not traumatized.
What is your house help?
She's a woman. She's a female. She was 13. I was 7.
I'm sorry, what does house help mean? What?
A house help is someone that's hired. In some parts of the world, They hire people to help around the house. It's in the name.
Where the fuck were
That's
you
all.
living that they had 13-year-olds that they were being paid to do work like that?
In everywhere, you can literally go down to,
What
to the
country?
home.
I'm just asking. What is so fucking complicated? What country were you living in at the age of 7? That's all I asked you.
You fucking imbecile. Don't raise your voice at me.
What fucking country were you living in at the age
I
of
was
7?
living
It's
in
a
your
simple
mom's
question.
country.
What country were you living in?
In America, where else, ding dong, dumbass?
Okay, you had a 13-year-old girl who was being paid for by your parents to clean up and tidy the house.
Yes, with
You
her,
had a
yes,
13-year-old
with her
maid
family.
in America.
Yes, go down to the Home Depot in Texas. It's very common. Where do you live? If you go down
Not
to Texas
fucking
and
where you
Houston,
do, that your
well,
parents are
obviously
hiring
that's
fucking
true. You don't-
13. Shh, calm down. All right, little fella, calm down.
Bro
Relax.
is just mad that he didn't get his
You raised your voice
gotcha.
at me. You
Like,
didn't get to
that's
raise your
really what
voice at
this
me and then tell
was.
me to calm
Bro came up here to have a
down.
gotcha
If you raise your
moment.
voice at
He
me,
came
I'm
up
gonna
here
raise.
because he thought he was gonna get me
If you
on
call me
something,
stupid, I'm
and he
gonna
didn't get me. And now he has nothing other, like, he has no other defense mechanism to turn to. So he's
Nobody
turning to, like,
cares.
random
Nobody
bullshit.
care because they haven't been through it. Then nobody is gonna care about your issue.
Okay, so,
because
okay, can we get back on topic? Can we get back on topic, please?
yeah, I'm
Can we
pulling
get
up
back
the
on topic?
agenda.
Why? Can we please get back on topic, okay? I don't care about the fucking Home Depot or your 13-year-old maid. I don't care. So what's
Well, of course you
what's
don't
your
care.
point?
That's my point.
You
I was great by that 13-year-old, but you don't care because it doesn't happen to you.
No, I said that
You
I don't
just
care
said
about the
you
maid
don't
part.
care. You just said you didn't
I
care.
said
Did you
according
miss
to
that
her
part?
logic, follow along, imbecile.
You just said that you
I said
didn't care that
according
you
to
were
her
great,
logic, I
right?
wouldn't care.
Okay, I asked you a question. Didn't you just say that you didn't care that you were great? Did you not just say that?
No, I said I would be way more traumatized if I was raped by a man. Keep up.
Have you been
Why are
raped
you
by
so
a man?
confused? No,
Have you been raped by a man?
no, I haven't. That's the point. Keep up. Most men
Okay,
have
so
been raped by men. It's women
okay.
that rape us. It's our aunties. It's our house
No,
helps. It's our
I
friends.
Yeah,
mean that.
absolutely women great men. What is your argument? What is
Not
your point?
So
my
what's your
point.
point, bro? Then why are you? Hold on. If you
My first
agree, if
sentence was my
you
point. You're not keeping
hold on.
up. My first
Okay,
sentence was you
okay,
have no right to
okay,
tell that man not
okay.
to care about false
Can you reel
accusations.
the point back in? Can you reel the point back in? Okay, I'm muting you because you're totally off topic. You came up here
I'm
making
not
an
off topic. I've
assumption.
been on the same
Hold on.
point.
You came up, you were in the comments making an assumption about me. You came up, the assumption was wrong. I corrected your assumption. I asked why you were making that assumption in the first place or why you were asking me about that. And like now you've completely derailed.
Nope.
So what was
And
the
what was my
fucking
what was my
point?
response? You're deflecting because you don't want to face my point. My logic has been the same. I said you cannot tell that man not to worry about false accusations just because it's never happened to him. That's been my point the whole time. Why are you confused? That's been my point the whole time, and I asked you multiple
No,
questions to
so
support that
my
point.
my
And you're
point was
not.
that it's irrational for him to be scared of false accusations when he's quite literally been through rape. That was my
That's
point.
and that's what I addressed. If he can't worry about that because he's never been through that, then nobody else should care about your issue because we don't go through that shit. That's been my point the whole time. I don't know why you're confused, but
That
it's
point
been a
wouldn't
very
even
simple point.
track. That
It's
point
been
wouldn't even
tracking.
track. Your point should be, and what you tried to do is you tried to come up here and say, well, Mac, why do you care about rape if that's never happened to you? That's what you tried to come up here and do, but it
No,
didn't
no, I
work.
spoke up when you said he shouldn't worry about false accusations. When men that have to deal with that more than women, by far.
Okay, and we get
Women don't
raped a
have to
lot
deal
more
with,
than,
with
hold
false
on, we get
accusations by
raped a
men.
lot more than,
That's why you
hold
don't
on.
care.
Okay, we get raped a lot more than men get falsely accused. So what the fuck
That's
is
why
your
you
point?
care. That's my point. Keep up. That's why you
No,
care.
but like
Because it happens to you.
your fear is irrational because it doesn't happen often.
No,
Like
we go
not at
through false
all.
accusations way more than women. That's why we
What's the
should care.
percentage of the male population which gets falsely accused? Do you know that percent?
30%. Yes, 30%. We're
No,
forced to
the
accuse the
percent of
paternity.
the male
Really,
population
look up
that
paternity
gets
fraud.
falsely
Yes.
accused, I would say that the percent of the male population that gets falsely accused is probably like
I'm looking at
0.0001%.
paternity fraud right now. It's 30%.
You
So
realize
blue.
that
Paternity
it's
fraud
like
is not a false allegation of
That's
rape.
well, then
Okay,
what is fraud then?
we're
What's the
not
definition
talking
of fraud?
about paternity
idiot,
fraud.
What's the
fucking
definition of
idiot.
fraud?
We're not talking
Keep
about
up.
paternity fraud. We're talking about false accusations of rape. Keep up.
Okay, well, if we focus on that only for some reason, if you choose to do that,
So, okay,
men
do you
still
know
go
what the
through that
percentage
way
what
more than
percentage of the
women.
male population are rapists? Do you know that number?
I think it's below 5%. Let me look it up.
It's
I'm very
roughly
sure.
5%, give or take a couple
We know this
percentage
shit.
points.
You can't talk statistics to me. I
So
know all this
okay,
shit.
okay,
like
it's
you have to get
roughly
to my level.
5%. Hold on, it's roughly
Exactly.
5%. What percentage of Why are you laughing? Like,
Because I know
bro.
all this shit. Like you, like I'm telling.
Okay,
I
so
know
what
all these
percentage of
stats.
the male
Like
population is falsely accused?
I think it's somewhere around 2%.
No, it's not
Let me look it up.
2%. It's not 2%. That wouldn't
I'm doing
add
it.
up.
I'm
That wouldn't
clicking.
add up. I
How would
said
you know?
what is the
What
percentage
studies
of
have
the
you
male
done?
population that is falsely accused? The
Yeah, I said
percentage is
around
less than
2%.
1%. It's less than 1%, bro. So follow me on this.
According to
So
who?
less than
I'm on the
1% of the male population faces a false accusation. Do you know what the percentage of the female population that experiences rape is? Do you know that number? Do you know that number? Okay. Clearly you don't. So it's roughly 20%, give or take a couple percentage points. So if
I'm also on the Colorado False
20% of
Claim Act page.
women,
You're wrong
if
this whole time.
20% of women go through,
You're
if
wrong.
20% of women go through
I'm on the
rape,
CDC page, and you're wrong.
if
Why do you keep going past
I
that?
don't
You're
use
wrong.
the CDC as a source, bro.
Of
Like the
course you
CDC
don't.
isn't a
You use your
great source
mind.
for
Of
this
course
type
you
of
don't.
thing.
You use
Okay,
your
what does the
mind.
CDC website say? Okay.
I have to go back.
Why are
I
you?
went to
So
the
I'm just gonna
Colorado page.
disconnect you because you're pissing me off. Like you're annoying. You came up here, like with one goal, and your goal was to discredit me through like your assumption that you made in the comments, and it didn't work. And now you like have nothing else to go off of. And you tried, bro. You tried, but you failed. Your assumption that you made was wrong, and you're pressed about it. So like, bye. Like. Next time, come up with a better fucking point than an assumption. So anyways, Giovanni, I'm still trying to understand why like you're scared of false accusations when you've been raped.
Well, I mean, the same thing. Like, for example, you said that women are more prone to the possibility of being raped, right? So
Yeah,
therefore
like,
they're more.
well,
But
it's
women
not
are
that like
prone
it's not that
to.
we're more likely than it's not even that we're more likely than like men to. That's like not even why we're scared of it. We're scared of it because it happens so predominantly to us. Like but like whenever like you being scared of a false accusation ruining your life or having any adverse effects on your life is like me being scared of getting electrocuted in the shower while taking or getting electrocuted while taking a shower during a thunderstorm. Like it's the same thing. It's the same like level of like fear. Like yeah, that could happen. You could be falsely accused. Is that gonna lead to any adverse effects? More than likely not. I could also be electrocuted in my shower while taking a shower during a thunderstorm, but that's not likely. So like that's like the comparison here.
Let me clarify. Not saying that men don't have to worry about it, right? Your topic are basically men who worry about red flags or who worry about false accusations or red flags, right? Not saying that
Yes.
that men aren't more likely to be raped than false reports, right? Even if like you believe the other statistics that are out there or not, besides the 2 to 10%, right? Let's just say yes, men are more likely. Okay. Even if that is the case, that doesn't deny the fact that men are more likely to be victims of false accusations. Therefore, since they are more likely to be victims of false accusations, it is a crime, right, that they have to worry about more. That is my point. It's not that.
Yeah, I get that's your point, but I get that's your point, Giovanni, but you literally told us that you've been a victim of rape and you're like still out here worrying about false accusations. Like that's what I'm not like understanding. Like that doesn't make sense.
Can you not worry about two things at the same time?
The fact that you couldn't like tell me that one was objectively worse than the other tells me everything I need to know. You push on the fact that I said that like it is objective fact that a grape is worse than like a false accusation.
Because that's
So-
not objective. To be objective, you have to
It
provide
is
facts,
objective.
statistics,
It
and
is
stuff.
objective.
It's fact.
Irish gave all the facts. It is objective.
But again, you're saying he gave the facts. You're making the positive claim. You have to back it up. That's how it works.
Yeah, Irish gave all the facts. Irish is the co-host. He gave all the facts.
Okay, well, DM me the link. I'll look at them. And then I'll look at the facts. And then, okay, it can be objective. But that's the point, is that for it to be objective, you have to provide facts, sources, whatever the case is, to back
Yeah,
up your
Irish
claim.
did that. Why aren't you just like, why are you not like okay with those facts? Also, like being lied on,
It's objective.
even like this, the acts are completely different. Being so like when it comes to sexual violence, and you should know this since like you like have been through it, you would know that like it's twofold. The first like part of the situation is obviously like what happened, and like that in and of itself is highly traumatic in and of itself, and then the like what comes after is also highly traumatic. So there's like two distinct portions to like what happens. And like even the act of rape or sexual violence in and of itself is objectively worse than being lied about. That is objective truth. And if you disagree with me, then I'm gonna like start questioning whether or not like what you've told us is true.
I mean, you can question it. It doesn't change the validity
So
of it.
do you
but the
disagree
point
with what I
is-
just said, that it is objectively worse to be raped, like the action of rape, that it is objectively worse than to be lied on? Do you disagree with that, Giovanni?
I'm not talking about just being lied on. That's not the
Lied
That's
on
what
as
a
pertains to
false accusation
sexual
is.
allegation.
Yes, but there's things that follow a
Can you
false
just
accusation.
answer Mac's question?
Can you answer the question? Do you disagree with what I said?
So you're saying being lied to or rape? Or being
I'm
lied
saying-
on with regard to sexual assault allegations. It's a
disregard
really
of
clear
anything that
question.
follows the lie, right?
Nope, including everything that follows the lie. I'll say it again. Mac is asking you, are you literally arguing that it is worse to be falsely accused than it is to be raped? Is that your argument, Giovanni?
Are we talking about majority or no?
Giovanni,
Are we
can
talking?
you answer
I'm
the
getting-
question? Instead of equivocating, can you just answer the question?
Are we talking about majority of cases or
You
just?
can answer it how you feel is fit.
Giovanni, I'm literally just asking you if the act in and of itself of rape is objective. Do you think it is objectively worse than being lied on?
Just being lied on? Yeah.
No. So do you not realize that a false accusation is a lie? There is no event which happens. There's no fucking event that happens, Giovanni. Why can you not get it through your fucking brain? Whenever you're raped, you're literally violated. Do you not like understand that? Like, there are two parts to being raped. You're violated, and then it's what comes after. There is no fucking violation when it comes to someone lying about you and another person's interactions. There's nothing that happens. That's simply just someone telling a lie. So the fact that honestly, the fact that you can't fucking agree with it and you're trying to skirt around the question right now, seriously makes me question everything that you've told us. It seriously makes me question whether or not what you've told us is truthful or not.
You
Just
can
gonna say
question
it.
doesn't
The
deny
fact that
exists.
you're skirting around this shit and not able to give a cohesive answer that yes, the action of rape is objectively worse than being lied on is just a big fat red flag.
You're saying grape versus being lied on, right? That's all the
Yes.
criteria that you're giving. I said yes.
because
If
that's
just
what
being lied
that's
on,
what a false
you're not
accusation
accounting for any other
is.
thing.
It's a lie.
That can have
That is the
consequences
action.
that
That is the
follows it.
inciting incident. Did you learn about inciting incidents in English class and the plot, right? Did you learn about the structure of plot? The inciting incident for a false accusation is the lie which occurred. The inciting incident for a grape is the grape. Okay? Do you not fucking get that? So which one of those is objectively worse?
I already answered that.
You didn't.
I did.
So do you
I
wanna
said
give a
if
clear
it's just
answer?
being lied on versus grape, grape would be worse.
So why did it take you so long to answer that? Like, as
I
someone who's been
literally
raped, like,
answered
why
it
did that
No,
take
no,
you so
no.
long to
What
about
he's
3
answer?
trying to
minutes
do,
ago.
he's not. Okay. We need to clarify. Okay, she's saying lied on. Now, I want to know about false accusations. Do you think it's worse than getting raped?
The same question according to her.
Nope. No,
The
because
same
you're
thing.
trying to clarify on lied on like it's something else. We're talking
No.
false accusations.
I think Giovanni now gets it. Giovanni is saying.
Well, no. Then if
that-
he gets it, then he can answer the question.
Well, let me ask it in this way because I think he is saying it. Giovanni is saying that being graped, in and of itself, the act of being graped, is worse than the act of a woman stating falsely that someone has graped them.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
He is conceding that.
That is what I'm saying.
Okay, and the reason I just pulled over because I had to ask you a question because there was something you kept saying. You kept saying men have to worry about false accusations. You mean more than women, correct?
Yes.
Okay, then that's fair. That is a true statement, but that still makes it irrational because even though men have to worry about that being falsely accused more than women, that's still much more rare than being raped, even as men.
The thing is, I never said men don't have to worry about grape. Okay.
I didn't. That wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. I'm not sure why you even brought that up.
Because that's the whole point. Is it was never part of the topic or question. It was.
It is because the irrationality is the fact that men are more worried about being falsely accused than they are about being graped, when they are much more likely to be graped than falsely accused, and when the impact of being graped is much more harmful than the impact of being falsely accused. That's
the
what
thing,
makes it irrational.
The actual topic point does not state one more than the other.
We
right?
have stated it.
Well, again, I'm coming in here just based off of
Yeah,
the
I would
topic.
say any man who even has this as a material worry is a red flag, because it suggests that they are engaging in conduct with women that could easily be turned into a false allegation, which to me suggests they're likely getting with drunk women, or they're likely engaging in situations where they're pushing people to have sex. Because if they're not doing those things, why would they be worried about a false allegation? If you're not having sex with drunk women and you're not pushing your partners to have sex, why would you worry one of your sexual partners may later claim you raped them? I've never been worried one of my prior sexual partners would accuse me of being a rapist.
I mean, some of the exonerations are like statistics.
Predominantly black men. Are you
yes,
black?
they are. They are.
That's due to
you know, they go
racism, not
black
the
and
false
white, and it's
allegation.
based off of like.
That's due to racism, not the false allegation. So do you have another argument?
No, but I'm not saying it's due to racism. Like it's due to what's the word? It's misidentified. It's the person is misidentified of who the perpetrator was, right?
I don't understand what your point is. I just literally made the argument that a man is more likely statistically to be raped than being falsely accused. And so if you go around worrying about being falsely accused, it's a red flag because it suggests to me that you're engaging in the type of relationships where you're doing dodgy shit, like getting with drunk women or pushing women to do things they don't want to do.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay, what do
That
you
wasn't
disagree
the
with?
clarification of the topic.
It's now
It was
being
just-
clarified. So
Okay,
what do you
then
disagree
I
with?
don't disagree with it then.
Great. Do you worry about false allegations?
Not really. Been with one woman since high school, so
Great. So this has been an entirely fucking waste of our time. Anything else, Giovanni?
it's not a waste of time. I mean, there's.
Did you find that
studies.
41% stat?
Yep.
Oh, you did. Great. Do you want to read off what it says? Quote it.
All of it?
Quote the summary where it says the 41%, and then tell me where it says that the DOJ relies on this study as you claimed.
Ranking police official notified the investigators whenever a rape charge was declared false and provided records of the case. In the study, 41% of the total disposed rape cases were officially declared false.
Okay. What does that show at all? That could be an investigation of a corrupt police department for all I know. What do you like? What is that meant to tell me?
What are you talking about? That was the summary of it. What more do you want?
Did you hear what I just said?
You don't understand because it could be.
That could simply be a case where the DOJ was investigating corrupt or inadequate policing in a specific police department, pointing out that the 41% is a red flag because that doesn't make sense on national
Did he give a
averages.
sample
How does that
size?
show?
I mean, anything
Okay,
can change.
here's the
But
whole.
how does that show that the DOJ relies on that 41% as its number of false allegations? Because it doesn't. So if you want to tell me, like, where's that study cited by the DOJ, and where does the DOJ say we believe 41% of allegations are false based on this study? Where does it say that, Cupcake? Oh, it doesn't? You just fabricated it and lied? Oh, that's awkward.
Hmm.
Trey, shut up, you little bitch. I'll talk however it is I want. Little whiny little bitch in the comments. I love how they're always like, "You're not an internet tough guy. Let me up there to beat you up." Like, fucking, such a pathetic losers.
Yeah.
Still looking for it, Giovanni?
Okay, still watching. Okay, like, do you feel dumb? Like, genuine question. Okay, do you feel dumb? Because I would feel dumb if I came up with this assumption that you put in the comments, and then, like, that assumption was wrong, and then, like, you had no other point to go off of. Like, I would feel fucking dumb. So do you feel dumb? Okay, like how do you feel about that? Because I am curious.
Still waiting for Giovanni to back up his claim.
That too. We're waiting on a lot of things here, apparently.
Zeus, while we're waiting,
I'm gonna
why
like
don't you
Kate
share
up.
your brilliance
I don't
with
know if
us?
she's off or not, but hi. Hey, are you opposition, Kate?
Do you mean like if I disagree with you?
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree with you. I'm sorry. I do agree with that those are red flags.
Yeah, sorry, Kate. I was saying in the comments. I'm
Awesome.
not sure if you're seeing that. If you only stay in if you're opposition. I'm not sure if you saw me. I said it like 7 times, just as a
Oh,
heads
I
up.
did see it once, and then I did
Oh.
reply, but
Oh, I
you
didn't
know,
see the reply.
conversations keep
Sorry.
going. So
Sorry about that. I just
You're
didn't
good.
want to waste your time.
no, but because I have held past as a kid, but that's when I was a kid, so it's a lot different than what this is technically, since I wasn't raped, but I was. Can I say sexually assaulted or no?
You can say
Or
essay.
abused?
Yeah, essay is.
Okay, essayed. Well, more like abused, I should say.
Zay or Zuzu or whatever your name is. Like, can you like talk before I drop you?
And
Don't
that's
say
me. Sorry
Zeus.
about that.
So Zeus, what's your opinion? Like, why did you come up here?
Oh, Irish brought me up here. I didn't come up here.
Oh, I wonder why. So why did Irish bring you up?
What
What
did
were
you
you
say?
yapping
Yeah, did you
about
say
in the
something in the
comments?
comments?
Oh no, I just said bro got mad at an internet comment. No, normally like they're just some internet trolls out there. They always do that type of stuff, and you shouldn't get offended. I was just trying to spread the message.
Yeah, I'm not sure I got offended, but that's okay.
No, I mean like not offended, but like you responded and stuff, got a little bit too much into it. I'm just trying to tell you to they always try to get you, but like we always got to keep our head up,
I appreciate that. I'd never really get offended by them.
No, okay, just
I
making sure
think
because
I
there always
more
be
so
trolls here,
call out
all
the
the time.
irony. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming up, Zeus. Cheers.
Yeah, nothing much, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Giovanni, how's that working out for you up there, buddy?
What specifically?
Where does it say the DOJ believes that 41% of all allegations are fake, and then they cite to that study as their evidence? Or is it what you're... Oh, no, I believe you said the DOJ believes this.
The
Remember
DOJ
that?
quotes, the DOJ has a study,
The
right?
DOJ is going to quote a whole bunch of studies. The point is, what does the
Yes, and I
DOJ
said they've done
conclude
studies
as
that
a result of the
up
studies?
to
That wasn't a study done by the
Giovanni,
DOJ, you ding dong.
Giovanni,
was a
can
study
you
done
like
by
tell me what the
DOJ.
title of that study is? What's the title?
I'm almost certain I know which one it is. It has like a 120 person sample, and a large
I
part
just
of it
want to
was
know the
about people
title.
recanting.
What's the title?
The title is quite literally false rape or grape allegations.
Okay, like is there nothing else?
It's 9 pages, volume. I can give you the NCJ number.
This is the worst fucking study I've ever like seen. Okay, so are you guys fucking ready for this? So
Is
this is
this...
the
Hang on,
study.
wait. Is it the one from 1990s?
Yeah.
It's got like 105 or 110
Oh, it says
participants.
dated
No.
2001.
Let me explain. Don't steal my fucking thunder, Irish. So this is the study that Bro is using. Okay, so it's 9 pages here. You know, false grape allegations, whatever. So let's read the abstract, shall we? Because the abstract literally tells me everything I fucking need to know. So it says, of the many controversies surrounding the crime of grape, no more difficult issue arises than dealing with false allegations. False grape charges have probably been in existence as long as the concept of grape, blah, blah, blah. However, in the 20th century, medical jurisprudence witnessed a new development that enabled false allegations. Hold on. And it says, let's continue down a little bit farther. Okay, so the purpose of this paper is to report the findings on the incidence of a false grape allegations from a long-term study of one city's police agency. This investigation is a case study of one police agency in a small metropolitan area in the Midwestern United States. So this is a study from one city, one small city in the Midwest US. So first of all, problem number 1. Problem number 2, this study is severely outdated, 1978 to 1987, severely outdated.
And you do
And
the source
yeah, so
that are from the 1990s, right?
it's severely outdated. So let me continue on. A ranking police official notified the investigators whether a grape charge was declared false. I think it says in regards of the case, but let me flip over to the next one. Hold on. So notified the investigators whether a rape charge was declared false and provided records of the case. So declared false doesn't mean proven false. So let's just like make that clear. In the study, 41% of the total disposed grape cases were officially declared false. Declared false doesn't mean proven false. It doesn't even mean that there was a trial. That could literally just mean that the police decided that there wasn't enough evidence, so they decided that it wasn't legitimate. So problem number 2. And then it says the incidence figure was variable from year to year. The data showed that all of the complaints were white, largely of lower socioeconomic background. A majority was mostly educated. The study of the 45 cases. Let me say that again. The study of the 45 cases of false rape allegations led to the conclusion that these false charges were able to serve the three main functions of the complaints, blah, 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 blah. So three major issues just in the abstract. Issue number one that I already said. Issue number one, this was one small city within the United States. Issue number two, these weren't proven false by any means. The police just decided that they were false. And the police are notorious for not, especially given the fact that this study was done during the 70s and 80s when there was a severe lack of education of grape culture just in general. This study is severely outdated. So problem number two. Problem number three is, like I said, the police were the ones in charge of declaring whether or not these were false or not. So they never actually went to trial, or the majority of them didn't. And problem number four, there were only 45 cases that were investigated.
If this is the one I'm thinking about, there's two other issues with it. The other issue was the fact that the determination of it being false was made by the detectives investigating, and there was no criterion that they used in order to determine when it would be false or not. And then the other big problem is that it was determined that a number of victims recanted, basically took back their initial claim, and why it was suspected that happened is that police department specifically relied heavily on polygraph tests, which has since been, proven to be bullshit. And there's psychological studies that show that victims who face criticism or lack of belief when they're coming to report are less likely to follow through. So the victims were asked to take polygraph tests, not simply the accused people. The victims were asked to take polygraph tests. And so it's assumed that a large number of women pulled out, or men, pulled out from doing continuing with the allegations when they were asked to take polygraph tests.
Yeah, so Giovanni, your study is shit. You're using...
So what about your studies that you use from RAIN? Because I'm reading the
so
documentation
the National
from
Crime
NSVRC. The following studies support these findings. You want to see the case?
I could tell you about those. You can't waffle on. If you're going to ask a question, ask it concisely. So
Giovanni, I got you.
Well, hang on.
I got you with a study.
But Mac, just 1 second. Before he does, let me just ask, Giovanni, do you admit that the DOJ does not believe 41% of victims who accuse are lying?
I didn't say the DOJ as an organization.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
That's literally what Mac reacted to. Was you said the DOJ. You said
41%
you said the DOJ. You're fucking
your study
liar.
is bullshit, Giovanni. Do you not realize that? Do you not recognize that, Giovanni?
A study of 136 assault cases
You're a liar,
from Boston
Giovanni.
from 1998 to 2000.
Yeah, I'm dropping you. You're just a fucking idiot.
I got
Yeah,
you,
sorry,
Giovanni.
Giovanni. Your studies were bullshit. Even one from the early 2000s, the late 90s to early 2000s, in my opinion, is still severely outdated, especially if there's no actual criteria for how they're determining that these are false allegations. Because even in the early 2000s, late 1990s, those grape culture, it's just not even back then it was still pretty bad. So I don't really think the police had the proper training on what a false accusation would legitimately look like, especially if
What
there's
about the
no
NSVRC? What about the National Sexual Violence Resource Center? Because they say
What about
it's between 10. They say it's between 10% and 2%. And
yeah, 2 to 10%. That's exactly what I agree with.
No, you said it was below 2%. What are you talking about? You literally
No,
said
that's
that
not
it
what
was
I
below
said.
1%.
That is not what I said.
She
that is
said
not
that the
what I
number of
said, you
men
fucking
who will ever be
dumbass.
falsely accused.
Yeah, that's what they're
She
saying.
said
False
that's
accusation.
not what that says,
No,
you
that's not what they're
idiot.
saying. It's not my fault that your pea brain's too fucking small.
What it says, you moron, is that of all accusations, 8 to 10% will be false allegations. What Max said, if you were able to listen to anything she said, was that less than 1% of men will ever be falsely accused. Do you not understand how those are two different things, or are you that fucking stupid, okay?
Oh, Okoro, hold on, Okoro, if I could.
Can
Okoro, if
you
I could.
hang on?
Here,
Wait. Can you reply? Wait. Can you reply to my question? Okay. Do you
well, that's
understand
what
that those are
I'm trying
two
to get
different
to.
things? Okay. Do
Okoro.
you understand that
Those are
those are
right
two
there.
different things? Yes or no?
So you doubt the CDC, and now you're gonna doubt.
Okay. Do you recognize that those are two different things? That Max said the chance of any man being falsely accused is probably less than 1%. And then what you said, and then what you're saying is, of all accusations, 2 to 10% are false. Those two numbers are not comparing apples to apples. Do you understand that? We need to understand the level of stupidity that we're dealing with here, okay? I need to understand, are you kind of stupid
Go
or
ahead and
chronically stupid and unable to
that's
be reasoned with? So which is it? Which is it?
all allegations.
Which is it, okay?
Less
Wait,
than
Okoro,
10% are false accusations.
hold
Y'all be
on, hold
lying.
on,
That's
Okoro,
why men
hold
don't
on.
take it seriously, because y'all
So
lie about
chronically
grace.
stupid then. So
Okoro,
Right?
chronically stupid.
And if you
I'm
keep
trying to
lying
give you an
about grace,
opportunity,
it won't be
Okoro.
taken
I'm trying to give
seriously.
you the
That's all
opportunity.
it is.
Hold on,
So
If
you
you can
could try and
please,
make it not an
Okoro,
issue,
Okoro,
but it's an
I
issue.
am trying to help you here, okay? I am trying to help you here. If you would at least let somebody finish their statement, we could let you finish yours. But if you continue to unmute and interrupt, that's not going to happen. You can and you will have an opportunity to speak. But when you start speaking over them, now I get it. The host and the co-host, they occasionally do. That is their right because this is their platform. So they will do that. But you as a guest, if you can't follow those guidelines, then you will continue to get muted.
I don't mind that, but if he calls me stupid, I'm gonna tell him he's an imbecile because he
That's
is.
fine. No,
I
no,
have
and you will have
stats.
that
He has his
opportunity. I get
feelings.
that. I get that. And if you want to
He
call him
has his
that,
feelings.
Okoro,
Okay,
I get
you
that.
can
If
call
you
me an
want to call him
imbecile,
an imbecile, that's not an issue. I don't think he's got a problem with that. The problem is that you try to do it while somebody's making a statement. I don't think anybody here has a problem with you name calling because they do the same thing. That's
I
not
like to
the
point
issue.
out
The
that he
issue is you.
interrupted me though, because I
And
was
like I
saying my
said, like
stats.
hold on, I get it. I get it.
No,
Like I
Ronnie.
said, Okoro, like I
Oh,
said,
he's
the
annoying,
host and
man.
the co-host. Yeah, okay.
He's
Trying to
just
give him an
annoying
opportunity.
Definitely very
at this
annoying.
point. Like, bro, like, so Okoro, whatever your name is, okay, I'm just gonna call you okay. So, okay, I'm sure you're still listening from the comments. Your local community college will have a probability and statistics class that you can take for relatively cheap. I suggest investing in that. So, anyways, yeah, like that dude was just like, there's no reasoning with that type of person. Like he's just chronically dumb. Giovanni wants to come back up after like, he was just severely embarrassed through his like shitty statistics. Giovanni, what do you want?
You do realize that the studies that Rain quotes, right, from the NSVRC are also like way outdated.
The
One of them
National
is
Scientific Innovation
136
Survey?
SA cases from Boston from 1998 to 2007.
Giovanni,
Yeah,
the
so
argument was that you came up here and you said that the DOJ believes that 41% of victims are lying. You then got called out on that. You then took an hour to find the study. You then brought up that study and then you changed your story. And the change in the story was to you saying the DOJ adopts the findings of this study versus the DOJ uses that study in one of their studies. Those are two radically different things. When I'm writing a paper for university, I'm going to cite multiple studies. Not always studies I agree with either. You'll often cite those studies to either get an aggregate or you may cite studies that you disagree with in order to explain why they should not be credited. So the problem is not the study even on its own. It's that you presented it as though the DOJ has adopted that as its number when it didn't. You lied. And then when you got called out on it, you tried to pretend otherwise.
No, I never stated that. And the DOJ doesn't adopt a number.
Giovanni, do you want to know why I am discrediting your sources based off of like the time frame? Because I can tell you, because that's clearly like what you're pressed about. And it's super simple. So the study that you cited, specifically the 41% study, has no like qualification for why the police should have, declared these allegations as false. There was no standard for the declaration of those being false. There was nothing. That study was flawed for that reason. But the reason why the date matters on a study like that is because police today don't have proper training on like sexual crimes, and they sure as hell didn't have proper education back in the 70s, back when marital rape was still legal or freshly illegal, because I think it was like 78. So like it was freshly illegal for like a like marital rape to be considered illegal. So like, yeah, the time frame of those studies it makes them completely irrelevant because the training then was just absolute shit. So if you can't see that, like, I don't know what to tell you. I've explained it perfectly. But the statistics that the Department of Justice and RAIN use today, some of them do date back to the early 2000s. But those studies aren't using, like, those studies have structure and those studies have organization, and they're not just like, oh, the police decided that this was false based off of no criteria whatsoever, except for their own opinion. So the studies that like, and also the National Crime Victimization Survey, which I think someone mentioned, is an annual survey which takes place, and the annual findings typically stay the same year to year, except for like COVID. So like, what's your point, bro?
The survey doesn't account for false reports, though.
Okay. And
I don't know why you would bring that up. We were talking about cases of false
Giovanni, do you
reports
believe that
based
the
off of
41% is a more accurate number than the 2 to 10%?
No, I believe it can vary.
I asked you, do you believe that the 41% is more accurate than the 2 to 10% range? It's a yes or fucking no. I'll state it more clearly. I believe the number of false allegations falls between 2 to 10%. My reasoning for that is the vast majority of studies done on the topic of false allegations fall within the range of 2 to 10% and more commonly between 4 to 6%. I have found that the studies that show it to be 2 to 10% are often the studies that also have criterion built in to determine why it is certain cases were determined to be false versus not, and they weren't simply based upon a detective's opinion. And I believe because there is such consistency in that 2 to 10% number, that if you found an errant study that came out at 41% and you determined that there were no specific scientific criterion applied in order to determine if false allegation took place, that it would be a fair decision to ignore that study as an outlier. What about what I just said do you disagree with?
Okay, so there's other studies out there with specified criteria for denying or for classifying a report as false that are above the 10%.
Okay, great. What are those studies? Like, that's fair. If that's the case, then yeah, that's great. So show me those. So give me one of those. Wait, Giovanni, let me just make sure. Were you making a statement there are, or were you saying a hypothetical that there may be?
There are. I've read them before in the past. I'd have to find them and pull them up again.
Sure. Go find your best one. Yeah, exactly. It's going to take another fucking hour. I don't understand. Like, okay. So actually, Giovanni, come back and tell me this. Since you seem to be so well versed in the studies, which you're fucking not, what do you think is the proper range and what do you think is the likely average?
Again, I don't think there's going to be an average. You're taking a group.
I'll rephrase it. I believe that the range is going to be about 2 to 10% across all states. And I believe the likely average or median will be somewhere closer to 4 to 6% based upon the studies I've reviewed. Can you answer that question in a similar way? With actual clarity as opposed to equivocation. It's fucking annoying.
What do you think it's the 2 to 10%? What's your logical reasoning?
Sure, because I've looked at multiple studies and looked at multiple surveys that have been done, and that is typically the range within the false allegations fall. And when I delve into what they're classifying as false allegations, they tend to be using criterion that seems to be more reflective of an actual false allegation as opposed to a misidentification. They don't include things such as taking back the allegation, which to me is not proof that someone has lied or not. That's just proof that the person doesn't want to proceed with the case. And so I think the criterion used in the 2 to 10% cases make a lot more sense for determining that something has actually been a lie as opposed to a mistake and or something that simply is insufficient evidence.
Okay, well then in my case, I'd say probably average would be about 30% based off of the studies I've read and the criteria that they present.
Okay, so can you tell me, why do you think the DOJ, RAIN, National Victim Society, why do you think all of them use studies different than yours? Do you think they have an agenda?
They have a list of the following studies they support. Just because they have a list of certain studies doesn't mean that they wouldn't include other
All
studies.
of those groups believe it's about 2 to 10%. So I'm asking you, why do you think those
Why are they
national
including
organizations, why do you think those national organizations believe the number to be closer to 2 to 10%?
Because they're basing it off of the studies provided.
What do you mean provided? You understand they seek out these studies, right?
The studies that they are citing gives them that range.
Are you fucking ding dong? So why are they ignoring all these other studies that you've apparently found in your research? Right? You said that you found a whole bunch of studies that show the number is 30%, right?
I'd say probably average, yeah.
Why are these other national organizations ignoring those studies?
I'm not the organization.
I'm aware you're not an organization.
so-
What's your opinion, you ding dong?
I don't have an opinion on why they would be excluding certain studies, but I mean multiple different cases of organizations excluding studies. So,
okay, great.
All right. Couldn't it be that those studies aren't valid?
it's one way. Could also just be excluded for multiple of reasons. There's not a specific one. You'd have to ask them.
Blackhammer seems to be suggesting a pretty fucking obvious one, that the studies don't meet the rigorous standards that they require, such as sample size, such as the criterion used to determine if it was false allegation.
Sample size
such
being
as
136 cases?
Giovanni, you told me the studies you're referring to have it in the 30% range. I don't know how large those sample sizes
I'm
are,
saying
correct?
based off of yours. You're quoting range,
Giovanni,
right?
I don't know if the ones that you're citing are maybe 10 people. I have no clue because you haven't told me. So maybe if you tell me
You
what is the
said
best
lack
study you
of
have,
cases,
what
right?
is
You
the
said-
best, most compelling study you have that shows 30% of allegations are false? And if I was to pick the best, most compelling, I would pick a recent one with a large sample size that delves into and defines what they mean by the term false allegation. So
You
what's your
said
best
large
study?
sample size, right? So you're telling me
I
based off of-
said
Hold up, hold
that
up.
could be one reason why they would
NSVRC.
discount yours.
136 SA cases.
We're not talking about that one.
But that's the one that you're quoting, that you're
Nope,
justifying for
that's
the
not
2
the
to
one.
10%.
Nope. That's
You're
not
quoting
what I'm
that
doing.
one.
Giovanni, the one that you're talking about is 41%, right? I'm not saying they rejected that due to sample size. I'm not saying 136 cases is not sufficient. That's not what I'm saying. You said there's a large number of studies where it shows the number at 30%. You then got asked, why do you think those studies are being ignored? Not the study you posted, not the study you're talking about right now, not the 41% study, these other studies that you said you've read intensively about. And I said, well, maybe they don't have large sample sizes. I don't know because you haven't told us what those studies are. So I'm going to ask you again, what is your best, most compelling study that you think has the most credible argument that 30% or more people who make allegations are lying? And what Iron Moon in the comments just said is correct, because some studies, that's why you need to know what they define as a false allegation. Some studies would literally say that a victim abandoning the case makes it a false allegation. That's not the fucking case, obviously. Giovanni, since you're so well versed in all this, do you think it's going to take you a long time to find this study, since you know you read them all the time and you rely on them for your numbers? This is so embarrassing.
Can you give a name of a study or something?
Giovanni desperately Googling, God, I need to find something that fucking works here. Something that I can like throw at them so that they can like waste 10 minutes trying to figure out why it's a stupid thing while I actually take more time to find a better study. Because you know whatever fucking study he gives out is going to be a stupid fucking study.
Yeah, Giovanni, like also like since you wanted to like weaponize your status as a like victim, so why do you like as a great victim, why are you trying to minimize and like delegitimize accusations? Like as a great victim yourself, like why are you trying to do that?
Fair question.
Are you just gonna
Giovanni,
say
are you
no?
not able to Google and talk at the same time? Is that overstimulating for you? Because you're not off the app right now. We can see that, right?
Yeah, so Giovanni, could you answer my question?
What was it?
Yeah, so why are you as a great victim trying to delegitimize accusations?
I'm not trying to delegitimize them. I do think that accusations should be taken seriously and that the police should investigate.
Well, that's what you're doing through claiming that 41% of accusations are false. You're delegitimizing a large majority or a large
I'm stating that
portion.
the police should do a better job in investigating.
Let's rephrase the question. Why are you ignoring what national organizations state to be the accurate false accusation number to be 2 to 10%? And why did you feel motivated to do independent research to figure out if that number was higher? And then when you determined that those studies were higher, why did you become an advocate for spreading information that more people are lying than not? Can you answer that question? As a victim, can you explain how that makes sense?
Because I think correct information is important, and I think that being able to...
As a victim, don't you think that people don't believe victims a lot?
Yeah, I mean, that can be the case. That's one of the
Okay,
reasons
so
why
given the fact that you
it's
know that people
underreported.
don't, sure, given the fact that people don't believe victims a lot, don't you think there's more of a priority on getting people to believe victims than what you're doing, which is getting people to disbelieve victims?
No,
You're
I'm
saying
not.
41, yes, you are. You're saying
No, I'm
41%.
not.
You're saying 41% of people who claim to be great are lying. Don't you think
No,
that if
I
almost
said
one in
specific
two, hang on,
studies.
don't, no, you said DOJ, shut the fuck up. Don't even
I
try to
didn't,
fucking,
but
you're a
keep
liar.
talking.
Sure. Why would you, do you not agree that if you are saying that 1 in 2 people who claim to be great are lying, don't you think that would lead to people rationally not believing victims more?
It's not 1 and 2, but I do think
I'm
that
sorry,
being
4 out
able
of
to...
4 out of 10. It's really not that much of a difference. 41%.
I think it brings awareness that
I
more needs
asked
to
you,
be
doesn't
done.
it mean that people will be believing victims less? Yes or no?
No, not necessarily, especially if it brings awareness and then improves
You
the
don't think,
investigation.
hang on. If I increase the number to 8 out of 10, if 8 out of 10 victims are lying, you don't think that's going to increase the likelihood that people will disbelieve victims?
It could for some, but it would also bring awareness that more investigation needs to be done if people are
You're a
being
fucking
charged for
liar.
false
You're
accusations.
a pathetic
I'm not a
fucking liar who
liar.
I'm very confident has been accused or has done something himself, and you're up here trying to justify what you've already done by trying to create plausible deniability for men like you.
I'm not, but that's a
You
crazy
are.
accusation.
It's
No,
not a crazy accusation.
it
It's
is
a
a
very
crazy
reasonable
accusation. It's
inference
not
based on what you're
reasonable because
doing.
I'm saying
If
that
you come up here and you weaponize you being raped
I
in
never
order to
weaponized. I don't know who you
justify
guys are weaponizing.
in order to
You're saying that I
justify the
did.
idea that you're up here not as someone who dislikes people who've been raped, but as a grape advocate, in order to inform people that more people are lying than not, yeah, I'm going to say it's very likely you have raped someone or you've been accused of
No, I'm
rape.
saying that there's multiple different studies that state different numbers, and basically being informed about that brings awareness, right?
You can't even
And then
bring up
also,
one.
huh?
You can't even bring up one.
I don't have them just on a quick link.
You don't even know the name?
Yeah, you can't even tell us anything about them?
I've read them like months ago. You think I remember them off the top of
You
my
can't
head?
even give up one though? Just one name?
I gave.
You're literally in a
that was
live
the DOJ. That was the
advocating
one I did remember off the top of my head. You guys didn't like that because of it didn't meet
because
the
you
criteria
pretended that
based
the
off of the person
DOJ relied
and also
upon it.
the
That's why.
year of it.
We didn't like it because you overstated the importance by stating the DOJ cites it as their number.
Cite it, but I
That
mean,
is what you said.
if you want to clip it and send it to me saying I said that, I'll admit
Sure.
I'm wrong.
I don't need you to admit you're wrong. I know you're wrong.
I mean, I'm not, but
So, what's the conversation today?
The conversation is what's on the board. If you want to read it real quick.
Yeah, Giovanni, why don't you get me again your best study showing that it's 30+%?
Chosen one. What's your opinion?
I'm actually neutral if I were to learn of a situation, especially depending on whether they were family or somebody related to me, somebody that I absolutely trusted or never had a situation of being dishonest before.
What do you mean by
I'm pretty neutral.
Like-
Neutral as in I wasn't there, so I can't. You know what I'm saying? I can't call it. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't expect you to believe me if I said I had been in the drive-by on the way to whatever place. Just you know what I'm saying? You can't believe everyone. You know what I'm saying? And there are situations where we've seen that women are in court lying on the top sports athlete, blah blah blah, coming out later and finally gaining some type of conscience, and there's no repercussions for that. She just lies. It's not like he sues the state. He's just happy to get out of there. Refer to women as females. You know, I mean, I don't know where you're going with that when you say refer to women as females, because I'm a male, I'm a man. Why are you? What offends women about being referred to as females?
Yeah, because female is an adjective, and like we want to be called women, like, and typically the men who like refer to women as just like females. A female did this, female that, these females, that female. Like people who do that typically don't refer to men as males, so it's just derogatory, and it's just like it's dehumanizing, and we just want to be called women.
That doesn't mean it's derogatory. It's part of the English language that explains a certain gender which you are a part of, right?
Since you like the English language, what's an
it's focusing
adjective?
on the male, but it's focusing on the female on women more.
What's that?
But it's mainly used for women. I've never heard other dudes call themselves males before, but I've heard many times.
No, I'm just saying, where would I find the offense of that? Where would I find be offended by that? Women can say males, these males, blah 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 blah. I mean, I'd be like,
they don't do it.
She's
right?
talking about men. They're
Chosen,
talking
they don't
about
do
men
it, right?
now.
Yeah, but they don't do it, and they would like it if you didn't address them as such. Like, I just think it's that simple. They say
They don't do it.
they don't
I'm
like
not.
it.
If they did do it, I wouldn't be sensitive to it.
Chosen, just because you wouldn't be sensitive doesn't mean that they're wrong for being sensitive, right?
Chosen, what does
No,
female
because
mean?
it told it.
Like, chosen, what does female mean? Like,
I don't know. It's you.
yeah,
That's for sure. It's you.
so female is typically like referring to someone's chromosome, someone's like in like what those specific like XX chromosomes, like what characteristics, sorry, that person with XX chromosomes typically like has, right? So it like
Right.
female is a very scientific term used for many different species of animals, not just humans. Like this is something that we
Oh,
female
now we're gonna
dog,
take it to
male dog, things
animals.
like that. So like it's simply like whenever you refer to women as females, it's dehumanizing because you're simply just referring to us like as our sex and as our genitalia and our sex characteristics, and that's like we're more than that. Like we're women, we have emotions, we have feelings, we have
Okay,
more
well,
to
it's not.
offer. We have more to offer than like just like our chromosomes. So like just refer to us as
Okay,
women.
just give me a second. Amanita, I saw your comment or whatever. It's offensive because it's typically used by men who have no respect for women, and you don't think that
That
this
too.
word was cultured. You don't think that this word just came, you know what I'm saying, ended up being a thing that we use
Incel
because of
culture,
our
maybe.
upbringing or school or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like
I don't
this
really
wasn't
care.
always
I don't
offensive.
like. I
This
don't really
wasn't always
care.
offensive.
That
There
can
are
still be
plenty of
bad.
words that like were culturally acceptable like 20 years ago that are no longer culturally accepted to like refer to mass groups of people.
Okay.
Like
Well,
plenty
yeah.
of different words.
I don't know. I don't. It's what
Also,
first
like
first
I don't really
it's the
care if
first
like
word
it's
that
your
pops in my head
culture
to
to
reference
call.
you.
I don't really care if it's your culture to like
No, not
dehumanize
my
women.
culture. It's been cultured. It wasn't always an issue. So you're gonna wait until we're on year 10 to 15 to be like, hey,
This is a new
we're
phenomenon that I've
offended by
like just started to see.
females.
No,
We're offended by females
no, this is
now.
a new phenomenon. This is not something that is old. This is a new thing that like with the rise of Andrew Tate, more and more men and like younger teenage boys are starting to like refer to mass groups of women as females. And it's literally just to degrade us to our chromosomes and like our sex characteristics
I
and
don't think it
what we can like offer sexually to men. Like you realize that language plays a part in whether or not like how you see another demographic of people, right? So like whenever these men are calling us females and they're just like degrading us to like our sex characteristics, they're gonna start seeing women as lesser than, and they're gonna start like getting ideas in their head that like women are only here for like men's validation,
I think
pleasure, and like whatever else.
I think that you've enacted this at the wrong time because women are doing better than they've ever been. And now you want to
No, we're
rise up
actively
with your
having
feminism.
certain rights stripped away. Like women were better off. Like women had more rights 10 years ago than they do today. So like,
No,
what do you
you
mean? We're
have
literally
all the
taking
rights
steps
that I
backwards.
have.
We're
You have all
literally
the rights
taking
that I
steps
have.
backwards.
Chosen,
We're
did you
literally
hear
taking
Max?
steps.
That's just wrong, dude. Like,
Yeah, Chosen, did you hear what Max said? Women were better off 10 years ago than they were today. What do you disagree with? 10 years ago, they had the right to abortion. Now they don't.
Okay, so she could have said before this 2 years ago. Then, if she wanted, that's all it's about.
Okay, so
I'm
is she
just
still
saying she
wrong? Hang
has
on, Chosen. She's not wrong, right? So you just said women are better off
I
today
mean,
than
I
ever
suppose,
before.
I
That's not
suppose
true,
so.
right?
I guess so. I guess so.
Okay, so
I
why are you
mean,
fucking arguing?
because that's what I'm doing. Why are you the bodyguard right now
Why
in
are
the
you
chat?
arguing over something you
Why are you
agree
the
with?
bodyguard in the chat?
How am I
We
being a
were having our
bodyguard, dude?
conversation
Are we not
perfectly
having a...
fine.
Giovanni, did you just run like a bitch? You didn't find that study, Giovanni? Oh, that's sad, Giovanni. Nobody is shocked. Giovanni, nobody is shocked that you were talking out of your fat ass this entire time. Now,
Whatever.
Chosen, you're saying that I'm her fucking bodyguard. What are you fucking talking about? I'm talking to you, right? I'm not
I
fucking
don't know.
putting
I don't
hands
know.
on you,
You
right?
stepped into a 2-person conversation and be
Because
like,
you've been annoying in ignoring the fucking point she's making,
you've
and it's
been on
annoying
gray
as
screen.
someone who is listening
You've been
to
on gray
have. It is annoying to someone listening to have you literally miss the point. You agree. You just fucking ran as well. Why are all you guys bitches in the comments? I'm scratching my head. Why are you guys dropping like flies?
They love to run.
And how can you call someone a bodyguard when you're online, bro? Like, how, what? I don't even understand it.
I really don't know. Like, why are people so pressed?
I don't get it. It's weird.
Why are men so shitty?
We did request, I don't know, Sorry Mommy, but Sorry Mommy is not coming up.
Like,
So,
why are men so shitty? Like, I don't get it. Like, why is it so hard for you guys to be, like, nice?
Black Hammer and I looking at each other awkwardly. We can't answer.
No,
Like,
for real.
don't
Like,
look at
there's
us.
only
Like,
a
I don't know.
small portion of you guys that, like, are,
I
like,
put
not
it down to
shitty.
good moms. I just feel like every guy who I like just had like a good mom. Like that's what it comes down to for me. Like not a good mom, the mom was the central figure.
I'm
That's
just
what I
tired.
found.
I'm tired of shitbags. Like, I
Yeah.
genuinely am just tired of shit men. Like,
Yeah, I drove back home, and while I was on my way home, I get back on right now, and I got a message from this Richmond dude that's been in the comments. He apparently doesn't know my hashtag no DMs.
bro, Richmond is, like, always yapping. Like, Richmond, like, confuses me because he just is always yapping and is always, like, taking both sides simultaneously, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Irish, you should go live because I'm tired of posting.
I mean, I think I'm gonna go to bed. It's like 1 a.m.
You always
1
fall asleep
a.m.,
anyway.
huh?
Yeah, as soon as you fall asleep, Mac, it's just going to get weird again.
Yeah, I'm tired. Is it really? Yeah, I guess it is late. I didn't realize what time it was. Well, I should probably go to bed because I do have to be up at like 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay, what is your 8 a.m. tomorrow? Oh, that's horrible. Okay, so what time are you free tomorrow?
Bro, not until like later, like past 6:30. Probably like
Good.
7.
I'm exhausted. All right, I'm gonna pass out, and then all right, I'll talk to him tomorrow. Maybe I'll go live. I just got to do one more blitz, and then I'm done. All right, bye Black Hammer. Bye Ernesto. Bye Mac.
Bye, old man.
That was Sir Ernesto, not me.
That's both of you.